Say the second, the first. Oh, that's not the password. Crap.
I don't feel so bad.
What, the password?
I have to use this because I don't know mine.
You learned it fast.
It was doing this. I thought it was right.
Oh my gosh, December.
You ready back there? Okay. I call to order the Rolesville Town Board regular meeting, February 1st, 2022. If would, everybody rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Austin, you mind leading us in prayer tonight?
Yes, sir. All heads bowed, please. Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Come and reveal your will as we discuss the agenda. Enlighten us that we may know how you want us to accomplish our task. Direct our thoughts, words, decisions, and actions towards the right path and help us to stay on track. Let your will be done as we plan and make decisions for the community of Rolesville. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay. Board, we got a large agenda tonight, so I would ask everybody to kind of look at everything and let's kind of move through agenda, and I think we can get through it without being too late here. But I do want to start off with something fun and always cool, like to start the meeting off with, and that's to recognize someone. And tonight I would like to take a few minutes to recognize one of our citizens that makes Rolesville her home. This is an effort from all of us on the board to engage with our citizens. In addition, this is appreciation to a lady that has worked in making our town safer. My goal is to attempt to show appreciation to all segments of population. This is one of our citizens that showed an example of continued striving to give to her community after living here for 8.5 years. She and her family moved here from Syracuse. The person I'm talking about is Kathy Kiso. Kathy and her husband, Tom, have a son, Jacob, who currently is a sophomore at Rolesville High School. She is employed by the Wake County Public School System as a substitute. Also, she has been known to sub at Rolesville Elementary and Rolesville Middle. Tonight, the recognition is for her engagement as a concerned citizen with the safety of people who work, live, and play in Rolesville. With all the construction and building taking place in Rolesville, Kathy reached out to me and the staff on some concerns that she was seeing. She is from a family that her father was in construction, and Tom is currently a senior construction superintendent. This led her sharing with us some concerns with safety precautions at a couple of our construction sites in town. In turn, the staff shared some of their concerns with the site construction managers, and in some cases, changes were made. Therefore, I want to personally thank Kathy and share this small token of appreciation for her concerns and reaching out. Thank you, Kathy. And if you would come up, and just want to give you this. You go to the front here. Is somebody here with a camera? I'm good, sir. All right. I know you want to pay for pictures and stand right here if you don't mind. But thank you. Appreciate you reaching out to us, and I hope we responded properly and everything. So thank you for that. And just a little token you can put on your desk or whatever. Thank you. Shake hands, everybody. think, Board, this is one of the examples, we get a lot of, feedback from citizens and stuff like that. I think this is an example of not only good feedback coming back from the citizens that we should listen to, but also a good response from our staff in taking initiative to follow up on it and do some things I think we see as change. So appreciate it from the citizens and also from the staff. Thank you, Kelly and the staff, and I think Meredith reached out and appreciate all that. So thank you very much. Next item is item number 4, is review of agenda by the board. If any changes need to be made, I'll ask the board if you need to make any changes, do it now, or I will entertain a motion for approval.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda, but to also add in section 1.
That would be for the consent.
For the consent?
Yeah, hold off on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just the agenda.
Regular agenda.
Regular agenda.
So moved.
All right, got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, board.
Yes, sir.
I see we have some people from Rolesville Chamber of Commerce here, Rachel and Alan. So are y'all tag teaming us or what?
Everybody has told us how quick, how long the agenda is tonight, so that's my
Yeah.
question for Rachel. Get up here and sit down.
I think I also see a executive member back there too. So you brought some people with you.
Definitely Happy New Year for those that I have not seen face to face. But I do have with me this evening, you all know Alan Mitchell, Mitchell Heating and Cooling.
Rachel, you might not.
Hello.
So this evening I have, can I do this while I'm up here by myself? Appreciate it. So this evening I have with me Alan Mitchell, who is our current chair, just for maybe another couple of weeks. And then I have Dick Armand, who is our vice chair, and then Terry Simmons, who is our treasurer, and also Terry Simmons, CPA. So tonight I'm just gonna highlight a couple of things for you. We have our normal meeting that we normally sit down and go into detail about, so I won't do all of that tonight. I mean, I can if you want to, but, not really.
We'll hold on.
Is this how it works? Is this touch screen? No, okay. Bam. I'll make that quick. Let me get to the juicy stuff. Okay, all right. Chamber stats. So our current membership is 148. Our retention rate is 87% with 27 new members, and social media with a 15% increase in engagement. You all have been extremely active as a council. I will say, this has been the most active I have seen a council since I have been here, and that's no slight to anyone. It's just you all answer the call whenever I put it in, and that's something that's appreciated. Everything from volunteering to bringing me new chamber members to bringing suggestions of workshops, which is what we want to see. The thing that I love about this is our retention rate increased from 83% to 87%. While we did lose members, we very nicely brought in a bunch of new members. And in losing those members, as far as looking at numbers for the members that we did lose, we lost 19 members. And when you look at some of those members of why they left, a lot of that had to do with budget, which I understand and I respect. If it's not in your budget, it's not in your budget. But I will say publicly, for the record, we are one of the most affordable chambers of commerce in this area, regardless. So if it's not in your budget, it's because you don't want it to be in your budget. Of those members that we do have that are new chamber members, definitely some key members. New mental health organization, Thorn to Rose, is now a chamber member. Subway, which is local, is a chamber member this year. Food Lion is a chamber member who came back this year. Also looking at one of the numbers that's really key for me when I looked at my statistics, which is not up there, is that of our chamber membership, 12% are actually Black-owned businesses. And so when you look at that number compared to some other chambers of commerce who have a lot more members, we are 158, but 12% are Black-owned. Now, when you add in the people of color and some other demographics, that number increases, which speaks volumes for us. And if you did not look at our social media today, you will see them all throughout the month of February, because we will be recognizing Black-owned businesses and celebrating our history, not only the 29 or 28 days of the month, but all year round. But I thought it was really key and important to highlight those Black-owned businesses that exist that you may not know exist. And a lot of that also had to do, when we looked through our chamber membership, was seeing the number. Even I was surprised. Now, if I look at Launch Rolesville, which has been a huge part of our success also in recruiting diversity to join the chamber, that number will be a lot higher. So definitely, as I track the data and the numbers, this is something that's important for us to keep track of. Looking at social media, some things that I found very interesting. Last year, our top demographic for visitors to our website, as far as looking at age, our top demographic was looking at that age range between the 45 and the 54 years old. One of the things that changed this year is we shifted to 35 to 44, which is kind of interesting when you look at how it changes. Also, we had an increase in the demographic from the ages of 18 to 24, which is also good for us too when you look at, okay, we're now starting to hit our community and hit our population to see that growth. Our top Facebook visitor is between the age of 45 and 54, while our Instagram user is 35 to 44, which is always interesting when you look at that. But the other interesting demographic, which will definitely be helpful for Michael and myself, when I look at the group interest as far as people who visit our site and people who engage with us, the number one category is for food and dining. The second category is for home and gardening, and the third is arts and entertainment. So for my economic development, do what you will with that. Okay. In 2020, the top category was employment, which is not surprising. Arts and entertainment was still in that category, but when you look at things for what we trend for 2021, those were the top three categories, or affinity groups, as we like to call them, of people who visit our site. Looking at also how people visit us or where we get our leads from, our events page gets the most traffic of our website. Our events on Facebook gets the most traffic. Our top engagement that we received for all of 2021 was a post about black and white coffee when they were celebrating their birthday, which I found very interesting. That was our top post of engagement. And for those listening to me or talking about what is Rachel talking about, I love numbers. So the people up here understand me and know my weirdness. Now, looking at as far as events and activities and things like that, I did list the new chamber members. This year, I don't think I've ever listed them before, of looking at some of those chamber members, and I'll send them to you so you don't have to jot them down. But some of the key ones: Army National Guard, Cartoon Jordan, Deandra's Hart, who is one that I met through Launch. Also looking at, and a lot of our diversity actually sits in this group too. Another page that got a lot of traffic was the Greenway Gastro Truck, which I can go in and look at traffic to each individual member pages, and this actually tracked extremely high on the chamber site, not only on our member database, but also on the website, which is really good for them. Also looking at some other groups that we have that joined. WhoHash, who's a nice new IT company that came to Rolesville that is looking to do some great things here, so we've been working really closely with them. And then also the Law Office of Michael Paul, which you all know, is also another huge group for us. Looking at some things that are happening, a lot of you are engaged with me on a lot of the stuff that I'm working on, so I'll just highlight a couple of things, not all of them. Working with April on some workforce development initiatives that we're really excited about. That is not something that you're going to see listed there. We're fleshing through, but I will tell you, we sat down and went into detail of looking at our workforce development. I talked to Michael about this because it's important for me to make sure I have all key people on board when we look at doing something like this. When looking at workforce development, we've broken it down by workshop to see what it is that we're going to teach and what we're going to have available for the community and for our businesses. And this is not something that's going to cost them. This is something where we are going to use the MOU funding, gotta love it, to be able to provide support for a lot of things. Also looking at, as we have these new businesses coming in, I know Austin is on the other side, so if you're listening to me, Austin, pay attention. We do want to hold a job fair with a lot of the companies that are coming in to make sure we're providing some resources and also building our workforce here as we improve our talent pool too. Oops. I'm getting there. Highlighting just some key events really quickly. Ribbon cuttings were great once we were able to come out and do some things again. Cash mobs were really great for our businesses. We have a new plan that we're going to work on for this year. Farmers market outreach was really huge for us. That was where we went to the farmers market the first Saturday of every month and worked the booth to actually meet people who were coming out to the farmers market. What's happening in Rolesville has been a great, tremendous success for us. I like to think it's me. Could be the mayor, but I'm going to say it's me too. Also, looking at our new resident welcome wagon, huge thank you to the police department who has been a great support for that. We have a huge number of people that are waiting for us to come back out. And also a huge thank you to the fire department, who has been a great help too for me in that process. Launch Rolesville was a huge success for us. Many of you were there at their graduation and the elected officials reception. We have some great businesses, great people who are ready to be active and engaged in the community. Also, increased community engagement is something that we've seen too. We have more people who are aware of us, more people who call and reach out to us, which is really great for us as we look to get people engaged in not only things the chamber has going on, but also things that the community has going on. And then also, so looking at your chamber board, we have a new board member, Annette Henson, who is over at Greenway Beer and Wine. Rolesville is a new board member this year, so we're excited about that. I have titles up there, but those will probably change after our meeting this month and switch some things over. So we're really excited to have her on the board and have her engaged. So that's a change for us. And then that's it. Look, I got a whole stack of stuff I didn't even talk about. But I'll just pause there and see
Thank you
if
so much.
my people are like, no, Rachel.
Except Alice.
Yeah, I enjoy talking. One thing that Rachel didn't talk about that I think needs to be said is that if you look at our balance sheet for the chamber, we have probably the most healthy balance sheet that I've ever seen in the chamber. And probably even back to when my parents started this chamber, they didn't have a balance sheet like that. So she's done a very good job of managing your money since we have the MOU, but also managing our members' money. She's done a great job. And, you know, we still have a lot to show for it. So it's not as though she's, you know, chunking money aside, and we've gotten very good at raising money. We've done very good things for our members. And we continue to do. And so I continue to hear things from people that don't know who I am, but say, yeah, we hear a lot from the chamber, we hear a lot from Rachel. Rachel's done a great job for the chamber, and why she stays with us, I don't know, because we clearly don't pay her for what she's worth. But we are very happy to have her, and she's done a great job and continues to do a great job for us. So feel confident that your money has been well spent.
Thank you, sir.
We agree. We agree.
And I can tell you, as far as looking at MOU dollars, which we'll go into, but just so you all understand, with the MOU dollars, a majority of the funding was actually spent after your fiscal year, which I understand how the fiscal year works. But it's also, I just want to say thank you, because we have been able to grow and truly push based off of MOU funding. A lot of the stuff we've been able to do, community outreach, the mayor show with him and myself, which I will say I still play a huge part in, have been able to grow, and that has been a huge success for us. So I do want to say thank you for that. Any questions for me?
What does your pen mean, 1922?
I'm so glad you asked. So this year of 2022 is the centennial year for Sigma Gamma Rho sorority. And for many of you that don't know, I used to be the executive director for the sorority. So being on the local level is always a huge thing for me. But because I am a walking brand and statement, I wear things so that people can learn more about us who may not know. And so you will see us on the news. You'll see us on a bunch of things this year because we're celebrating 100 years. So.
Awesome.
See how it made you ask the question? I'm just saying, that's what I do.
That's nice.
Any other questions? Look.
Great job.
Thank you,
Great
ma'am.
work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chamber. Appreciate that. Next item we'll go to is the liaison reports. Start with Commissioner Vilga, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Anything to report tonight?
Yeah, we had a meeting. We had a meeting on January 26th. They nominated new officials, discussed the bond, but I told them that I would discuss that with the board at our retreat to get more information for them, to kind of give them guidance. Also discussed the Chandler Ridge Park property. Let's see. There's an upcoming open space in Greenway plan that we'll be getting an update on soon. And the Facility Naming and Identity Committee gave a policy on how to name things throughout the town if somebody's looking to do that. So they're trying to put a policy together so they can bring it to this board so we can review that. So more to come on that, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner, appreciate that. Commissioner Sutton, Economic Development, anything to report?
Actually, just real briefly, we did meet. Yes, we did meet last week, January 28th. We met with this group, and this was our first in-person meeting that we've had, I think, in a year. So it was very nice to see folks in person. I think we probably have about 10 to 12 people on the group now. We had a couple of new members join. We have a lot of businesses on this group. Let me back up. Rolesville Downtown Development Association, if I'm saying the name right. RDDA is what I call it. But we have a lot of businesses in Rolesville, especially those ones on Main Street that are a part of this group. We have some chamber members on this group. We have folks from HOA. I'm a liaison to it. The mayor liaises to it, of course. And Michael McFarland, our community and economic development manager, is kind of spearheading the support for the group, and Kelly supports as well. So it was a really good meeting, and kind of we're in the forming and storming stage, if you will, working on kind of our work plan for 2022. I'm excited about this group because they're going to support the economic development efforts in Rolesville. So I'm always excited when citizens want to engage with their community and make a difference. So it was a great meeting. I was excited to see people excited about helping Rolesville, and for free. Woo! That's awesome. Thank you, community. So we'll be looking forward to doing a lot more things, and I'll be giving some more detailed updates. We probably will be meeting monthly, will be our schedule, so I'll be able to give you all some more detailed information as we meet in the coming months. So thank you all for your support as well.
Thank you, appreciate that. Commissioner Medley, Planning Board, any reports from the Planning Board?
Yeah, we discussed, what was it? The Public Works Facility rezoning, which way they were in favor of that. And we also discussed Rawbrook, pretty much what we all discussed at the previous meeting, and they were in favor for that. It was a pretty quick meeting. They were grateful for the volunteer dinner that was discussed. They just want the opportunity to be able to connect and communicate with the board and with other board members. So it was a short meeting. It was good.
Thank
28
you.
minutes.
Thank you. Commissioner Sneed, Public Safety, anything? Public
We
Safety?
met on January 20th. It was my first meeting with them, and it was great to see the support through the conversations that they had, how much they support each other, which was not doubted, but it was great to see it and hear it for myself there. The fire department talked about that the volunteers are up for recertification. They also talked about something called the Knox Box program for residents. I think that's something that we really should let all of our residents know. It is $189, and the fire department installs beside the front or garage door, they'll put a box, which they will have the key to. They're the only ones that will have the key to that box. So in the event of an emergency, they don't have to knock down the door or break out the windows or anything. They just go in the box and unlock it and get in your house that way. So I think that's a great program and something that our residents should know about, so they could possibly consider that. They said that the call volume was up, mostly for EMS and fire alarms, and the fire calls were down, which it's good to hear fire calls are down, but anyway. We had an EMS report that their numbers are 10,000 greater than they were in 2019, but they're lower this year so far because of COVID. The police department reported that Captain Haynes was now overtraining, so he is certified and has taken over, and that's very exciting for him. So it was a lot of good information that I got out of that meeting, and I'm glad to be part of that group.
Great, thank you, April. Thank you for attending that, appreciate that.
Yep.
Next, Commissioner Austin. We can add him to the agenda, Madam Clerk, going forth. I told you we would work on trying to find something that Dan wants to do. He was real eager wanting to do something. So Dan, and don't take this wrong, Paul, because I think he was doing a great job of it, but Dan has a lot of passion for veterans. So he's going to take the lead on Veterans Affairs or Veterans Liaison. He's got some ideas that he wants to work on. Paul, you can certainly stay engaged and appreciate, Paul was instrumental in getting the veterans flags up and stuff like that. So, but Dan, being a veteran, he's really passionate about that. And also, Dan has asked to kind of, to get more familiar with what way things are working. If you guys can't attend one of your liaison meetings, invite Dan to go as a backup. He would love to just go and sit and watch. So if y'all can do that, it'd be appreciated. So Dan, you have anything to report from the veterans side?
Yes, sir, I do. Good evening, Board, Mayor. I would like to say thank you for appointing me as a veteran liaison. As a veteran, you said I have a strong passion for it. So what I have planned is a coordinated meeting with Austin Williams with the Walbrook, because that boat have potential. I have coordinated with some of the veterans that in Raleigh, because I would like to see, can we get a veteran center maybe involved in that department? Because with the Wake Forest and Rolesville, there are a lot of veterans here. So we want to be able to provide them the assets they need, because some of them are elderly now and they can't be able to go to their appointment. So I want to coordinate with the Nightdale DAV office and see how can we push to have something here. And I would like to put it where the Walbrook and the boat area, because there's a lot of potential. Thank you.
I love it.
Yep. Thank you, Dan. I think that's going to be good. As one of the things that we would love to have is some type of health care facility for veterans, at some point in time. And I think, Dan, you can certainly help accelerate and start a discussion on that and get things going. So appreciate that. I do have a proclamation I want to read. This is Black History Month, and I want to read the proclamation that I've just signed. It says, whereas much of the town of Rolesville honor, strength, and statue can be attributed to diversity of cultures, traditions, and the celebrated by the residents of the great town, and whereas African Americans have played significant roles in the history of North Carolina's economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development while working tirelessly to maintain and promote their culture and history, and whereas as a result of the determination, hard work, and preservation, African Americans have made valuable and lasting contributions to the town of Rolesville and our state, achieving exceptional results in the aspects of society, including business, education, politics, science, and arts. And whereas in 1976, Black History Month was formally adopted in honor and affirm the importance of Black history throughout our American experience, which goes back thousands of years and includes some of the greatest, most advanced, and innovative societies in our history that we can all draw inspiration from. And whereas Black History Month is a time for all Americans to remember the stories and the teachings of those who helped build our nation, took the stance against prejudice, and to build lives of dignity and opportunity, advance the cause of civil rights, strengthen families and communities, and whereas during the Black History Month, all Americans are encouraged to reflect on past successes and challenges of African Americans and look to the future to continue to improve society so that we live up to the ideals of freedom, equality, and justice. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Ronnie Kern, Mayor, do hereby proclaim February 2022 as Black History Month for the town of Rolesville, and I signed it this day. So, Madam Clerk, if you would enter this into the record. Appreciate board giving me an opportunity to read that. Next item, moving along, is the consent agenda, and I think Commissioner Austin has a kind of a addition to that?
Yes, sir.
So I'll entertain a motion with your addition, if you like.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda, but also in section 1, under H for supplier diversity, I would like to add veterans in there. So I read the statement of, it is the policy of the town of Rolesville to provide minorities, women's, and veterans equal opportunity to participate in all aspects of the town contracting and purchasing programs.
Thank you. Is there any, if not any objections to that, can I have a second?
I have a question, though, on that, because I wanted to ask about the goal, because I want to recommend the goal be higher. So can we pull that?
Is that the last, that's the last one,
Or
I
is that a
think.
different component?
Yes, that's the last one.
Different component, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Then I'm good. I second.
It is confusing because there's two
Yeah,
things.
I looked at it. I wanted to
Yeah.
make sure. Then I second his motion.
Okay, so I got a motion, a second. Is there any other discussion? I call for vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No opposed. Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that. Now, let's do public hearing. Yeah, I know. I was going to get to, I'm getting to that. Yeah. The public, yeah, yeah. Now we get into the public hearing and the public to be heard section of the meeting. We do have a lot of people here tonight that want to speak. I think we got 5 public hearings. So we got a lot on the agenda. So I'm going to really have to limit by the 3-minute rule on the public comments and also the comments in the public hearing. So everybody will get a chance to speak. And I've asked Dan if he would to be my, I guess we call traffic officer on that. Keep up with the 3-minute time and let us know when it expires. So I will ask everybody that's speaking in either the call for public here that we're going to do next or the public hearing to please keep it at 3 minutes. So I do have a few people that want to speak at the public comment. Mr. McLeod, are you here? I tell you, anybody that want to speak, I got 4 people. If you want to speak, have them to come. And I think Betty, I see Betty. Come on up, Betty. You go first. Come up here and kind of give us your public comment.
And I only have 2.
Okay? You got a minute and a half on each one.
First one is, last week there was an accident on the Beltline. And the traffic jam in Rolesville is going to be what it's like when the intersection in the middle of town gets closed. Expect it. That means every day, morning and night. It took me a 20-minute drive, took me an hour and 48 minutes. So be sure you plan for that. That's 3 hours a day if you multiply that times 2. Other thing, Town of Rolesville, Averett Road, the police are in charge on the highway. I'm not in the city limits, neither is the Rolesville Cemetery. But the police sit in the Rolesville Cemetery regularly, and I'm sick and tired of finding these on my father's grave.
What is that, Betty?
It's a beer can.
Okay. Gotcha.
Empty. They drank it hopefully they drank it in the cemetery, not while they're driving down the road. And this is about the 3rd one since Christmas.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Thank you, Betty. Appreciate that.
Fingerprints.
Okay.
Chief.
Anybody else sign up, please step forward and please state your name and address for the record, if you don't mind.
Hello, everybody. Demetrius McLeod. My address is 1111 Virginia Water Drive.
Help you get started.
Can the mic be turned up some, Robin? It seems low.
It does seem low.
If it's low to us, it's probably really low to the public.
It was right here. Where are we?
I'm sorry about that.
You may have to click.
So Commissioner Austin, don't count that time to set all that up. Just give her a reset on that if you
Okay,
would.
yes,
Oh,
sir.
Dan, he was on it too.
Okay.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I want to also thank the homeowners from Cedar Lake subdivision. There's some next door, and there are also some online. This is an issue that we have been dealing with for quite some time. As of December, this has really become a current health concern, and the reason I say that, if you look at the photo, let's see, at the very top, right there at the very top, from where we have been dealing with these buzzards so much throughout the subdivision, they have damaged our property. So right there at the top, from where they land on the house, so that is damaged now. So the feathers and things are now coming into our attic, okay? So as of December, this is a safety hazard, a health hazard.
You take your mask down so it might be easier to hear you. Thank you.
So the pictures that you see are some pictures that we've taken probably over the past year. These are what we wake up to at about 5:30 in the morning, and this is what we go to sleep to at night, okay? They land and they sound like airplanes. This is another picture, and that kind of shows some of the damage or just some of the acid, and that stuff is very toxic. It stinks. We've spent a lot of time power washing our property. We've done a lot. Here's another picture, and as you see, it's normally about 20, 30. That's a small picture that you see on various properties throughout the neighborhood. This is another one. This is as of 5:30 p.m. today, and that's kind of early, so they're just starting to land in the neighborhood between 5:30 and 6. And this is as of today at 5:30 p.m., and that's them in the trees. As you see, that's where they nest. These are the steps that we as a homeowner have taken. We constantly power wash. We've used noise from pots and pans. We've used owls on our property. We've used metal reflectors. We've used scarecrows. And we've also tried spraying water during nesting. Current steps that are being taken, we're currently using a blowhorn, a marine blowhorn. So if you hear that noise, yes, it's very loud, but unfortunately at this point, we don't have any other solution. And we also use, you may see a light flashing at night. Those are the only two things right now that will deter them from nesting in the back of our property. So now they're coming closer to you towards Crowsdale. So we're pushing them that way, but they are not leaving. So we are here to see what else can be done. We've done everything that we can do. There's nothing else that we can do. We've reached out to the town. We're asking what else can be done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms.
Demetrius,
McLeod.
where do you live in Cedar Lakes? I'm sorry.
We're on the 5th house right down from New Bethel
Okay.
Virginia Water Drive.
on Virginia Water.
Okay.
But they're going throughout the neighborhood.
I would say also that I saw on the sides of their houses, because you only showed the roof where
Yes.
the little droppings are, but on the sides of the houses, absolutely awful. It's just, and they can get in trouble for that with their HOA, so they're fighting a losing battle here, but something would need to be done.
And in the back, our deck, it has the feces on it. We're at the point now we can't cook in our backyard, and there's stuff back there. And for those that have autoimmune disorders, it is a health hazard. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that. Was anybody else here to speak on this particular thing?
They are in there.
Did they want to speak, or did you cover it for them?
Sure.
They
I don't
do?
know if they,
Okay, see if they want to speak, and I'll hold just for a second, see if they want to say anything additional. I know Kelly, there, this has been going on for quite a while. I think it's been brought to our attention for quite a while. So are you prepared to do a brief report, or you want to bring it back to us and give us a brief report on this, or? We'll let them speak, and then you can decide.
Yes, good evening, thank you.
Yes, if you would, state your name and address.
Name is Paul Wachkowski. I'm at 1100 Virginia Water Drive, and I'm here to support what you have just seen. This problem started probably between 2017 and 2018 on Alicante, which is right off of Virginia Water Drive. It's a dead-end street. It started at the end house, 2, 3 buzzards, became 10 buzzards, became 20 buzzards, and started to work its way out into my house. I see it right. I'm right at the traffic circle there at Virginia Water. And I wake up in the morning, like you're saying, I get this right above the bedroom every morning and throughout the day. You go out there, you try to scare them off. Now, I do realize they're protected. But as mentioned, this is a health hazard. And we would like to see what assistance the town can offer and guidance.
Right. Well,
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Appreciate that.
I also live in Cedar Lakes. My name is Michael Elliott. We live at 605 Vigo Court. We're at the lower end of the subdivision. And we're experiencing the same difficulties with those birds. They're nesting in the trees behind us, and then every morning at about 5:30, they're on the roof. And it just literally sounds as if somebody's running across the roof of your house. I know it's hard for some people that haven't seen these birds with a 6-foot wingspan, and the fact that they defecate and that they vomit all over your roof. So the people that have had new roofs put on their house and realize what a $10,000 investment is, and then you look up there and you see what they're doing, it is problematic. This is very similar to what's happened in Shelby, North Carolina in the last few years. There's been some studies done on that. The federal government is involved with that, with relocating. I don't know what that entails, but I would love for the city of Rolesville to do a little research as well to help the homeowners with this difficult situation. Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you. Certainly. Thank you.
I do have a question. What does your HOA say about this?
They said it's up to the city, that there's really, because of the fact that they are protected, there's really nothing we can do other than sound and noise. You can't do any harm to them. Even water cannons, some people suggested that, but the environmental folks say that that's not permissible as well. So right now, we're just kind of running up into a lot of obstacles. And as homeowners, we're very concerned, not only just for the property value, but also just the quality of life in our homes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you prefer to wait
So,
for,
no, that's actually, it's good timing because Chief Simmons just came in room, and we are under contract with the United States Department of Agriculture. We do have a plan in place, and I'm going to ask Chief Simmons to go join that crowd and that group over there and kind of give them an update now, if you wouldn't mind. And then we'll give you a written update very soon on what our efforts are. It has not gone well this winter, like we hoped, but they told us to be patient, and it should go better in the next period of time. As hunting season drops down, there's less dead animals, is what we've been told. But I will have Chief Simmons talk to them now, and I'll give you a written update tomorrow.
that'd be great.
Let me just add to that I don't think that's 100% true because this has been going on for several years. And it doesn't seem to be getting better. And then you still have the issue with Food Lion. But I know there was an issue about feeding them and causing them to come back to the same location. The little old lady is still over there feeding them, and they are hanging out, the buzzards are hanging out on the street poles and in the back of the store. So I don't think the winter is going to make a big difference. I think they're being pushed. As construction takes place, they just continue to move elsewhere.
And maybe it's worth calling Shelby, if you haven't already spoken with them.
We're aware of what they've done,
Okay, good.
and that's one of the tactics we're using with
Good.
USDA. And it is a relocation effort.
Good.
They're scary. I got chased by one when I was out walking. By two, actually. I was like, oh my gosh, these are like monsters.
So who protects them? Is it state or federal government, or both?
Federal.
Federal government? Both of them. It's a double whammy.
They're buzzards.
Okay. More wisdom than I have, but we'll move on. Appreciate all the public comments. We welcome any public comments, and this is an issue that I've been knowing about it for a couple of years now, and I know Kelly and the staff been working on it, and I would say let's continue to work on it and see if we can come up with some solution other than going out there with a shotgun. I think that would fix it, but the attorney says don't do that. But anyway, we do have some board actions here. We got several public hearings to cover, and I will introduce the first one here, and if we would, whoever is going to present it, please come up. This is public hearing MA 21-07 and ANX 21-05, Public Works Facility. So I will open the public hearing and entertain an introduction from staff.
Good evening, Board. My name is James Carter, and I'll be presenting the Public Works Facility rezoning and annexation case.
I can barely hear you.
Sir,
Can the mic be turned up a bit? Is it up as loud as
It
it'll
seems like the
go?
mic is so
It
short
seems really
tonight.
low. If we can barely hear, the public probably can't hear.
Is that any better?
There you go.
Oh, yeah, there it goes. Yes,
Lean
thank
in.
you.
So for the rezoning case, we have 15.24 acres located on East Young, and the request is to rezone from residential low to BT. BT stands for Business, Industrial, and Technology, and then based on the application's timing, it is under the LDO. And then turn around on the annexation, it's a continuous voluntary annexation petition for 15.24 acres. If you look at our vicinity map, the property is located just east of the 401 bypass. You can see two properties there. The property that is on the western side, we do not own. Whenever you go into iMaps, it pulls in both properties for some odd reason. But the property that does have the red dot is the property that we're speaking about tonight. For the current zoning, like I said before, is residential low, and we're going to rezone to business, industrial, and technology. The BT district allows for government facilities, businesses, and also professional offices to be here as well. And then recently, public works facilities were also added. Right now, we have our preliminary site plan, which is a rough sketch of what we have planned to go here. Mark, I believe he spoke to you all at the work session, gave you a little bit more that I have tonight, but it is roughly a 9,000 square foot building with a shared access onto Young Street. The future land classification is mixed use neighborhood. The public works facility is typically allowed in this type of designation due to its non-residential aspect. We did host a neighborhood meeting. The meeting was held January 6th. We had 6 residents in attendance. At that meeting, we discussed the property and also the intent of the facility. Questions that were asked included what would the facility be used for, what will happen to the green space and pond on the property, and also why rezone to the BT district. So we let these residents know that the facility will be used for our public works team, roughly about 4 to 5 employees. And this will be their headquarters. Here they'll host all of their equipment that they'll use as far as lawn equipment, trailers, and also the street sweeper that's owned by the town. With the green space that's on the property, we intend to maintain all that green space there, so we won't dig into any of it, and we want to keep it exactly how it is. And the reason that we chose the BT district was to preserve that land and then also protect adjacent properties. So surrounding, we have a lot of residential low properties, and the BT district serves as a buffer between those and allowing us to be able to have that facility come in as well. A part of our CTP plan, Young Street is proposed 80-foot right-of-way, 2 lanes, and also a center turn lane. Along with this project, we do not have any designated roadway improvements along with this, but this is what is coming along the pipeline for Young Street. If you look here, you can see our annexation map. So everything that is in purple is already currently annexed into the town, or it's already town limits. And if you can look, you might have to look a little closely, but I did place another red dot there. That is the that is the 805 East Young property that we do plan on annexing in as well. So planning board and also staff analysis. Planning board recommended approval at the January 24th planning board meeting. The facility will help Rolesville's public teams work, service the community, and help as we expand. And also, the staff recommends approval of the request. So here, this is how we go through our rezoning and how we come to accept the applications, and then also how we basically grade them in a sense. So we base it on the comprehensive plan, make sure it meets LDO standards, and also we want to make sure that it flows into the town of Rolesville, and make sure that going forward, it's what we look for, so as, again, with the comprehensive plan.
Thank you. Any questions for the staff? All right. Appreciate it. Thank you. I will now see if there's any comments for the public in favor, and just remind the public this is for annexation and MA 21-07, which is a public works facility at West Young Street, or East Young Street. Any comments from the public in favor? Any comments from the public in opposition? Not hearing any comments from the public, I'll close the public hearing and ask the board to entertain a motion here.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the MA 21-07 rezoning request as presented by staff.
I'll second.
Okay, do the rezoning first. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and we need one on the MA. If we could get a motion on the MA 21-07. Commissioner Sutton, you want to do that one too?
Mr. Mayor, I also make a motion to approve the request for the annexation, ANX 21-05, as presented by staff.
A second.
Thank you. And that's actually, what is that? Is that what's the MA?
MA is map amendment?
Map amendment, that's the map amendment.
No.
Yep, I couldn't
Do
think
I
of
need
what
to
it
correct that?
That's correct. You did it right.
Okay.
All right, cool. All right, we got a motion second. Is any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Not hearing any opposed. Thank you, board. Motion pass. Thanks a lot. Next public hearing is MA 20-03 Broughton Townhomes. I will open the public hearing and ask for any introduction by staff.
Mr. Mayor? Just for a clarity point for the board, between our last regular board meeting and this board meeting, staff has proposed and in consultation with the mayor, we would suggest, and as you just did, taking the map amendment votes first, followed by the annexation votes. In the event an annexation vote were ever to fail in that second position, your map amendment vote would be rendered a nullity. But I think the way we normally think about those two issues when they come together, that will tend to work better for the board's deliberations.
Yes, sir.
I have no idea. All right. I guess you're going to do the introduction?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. For your consideration this evening is a rezoning request for 7.21 acres located on North Main Street and Young Street. And based on the timing of the application, the review is under the Unified Development Ordinance. The property is located east of West Young Street and north of North Main Street. The current zoning designation is Residential 1. The applicant proposes to change the zoning to Residential 3 Conditional District. Residential 3 is defined as a pedestrian-friendly residential area that has a variety of housing types, but people usually request it for townhomes and multifamily. This is a conditional zoning request, And one of the conditions is the concept plan that has been provided by the applicant. It shows 57 townhomes on the 7.21 acres, and that comes out to a density of 7.9 units per acre. They're showing 2.14 acres of open space and 160 parking places. The applicant has also provided some elevation showing what the townhomes will look like. And following the planning board meeting, they provided some additional information about the materials, such as the siding would be hardy plank, accents would be included, and masonry be included, such as masonry stone or brick veneer. There have been 2 neighborhood meetings for this case. The first one was held almost a year ago. And when staff was touching base with the applicant, we decided it would be a good idea to hold another neighborhood meeting since it had been such a while from the first one. So the applicants volunteered to hold a second neighborhood meeting, and it was on January 25th, and it was virtual. Also, I wanted to note, as far as neighborhood feedback, I've spoken with a few of the residents of the adjacent neighborhood, Terrell Plantation, and I spoke with one resident who asked if I had seen the petitions to oppose the rezoning, and also a petition to oppose the connection to Northwick. I don't remember if it's road or drive right now. And I said I was sorry I hadn't seen those. I looked in the files and couldn't find them. They were kind enough to bring another set over, and that was included in your packet. But I mentioned to them that I would note that I hadn't seen those before, and they have been added back in. As per our comprehensive plan, the future land use designation is medium-density residential. Medium-density residential is defined as predominantly single-family, with some townhomes and multifamily and duplexes. And the typical density for medium-density residential is 3 to 5 units per acre. In the applicant's request for townhomes, the use fits the category. The density is more in line with the high-density category. The high-density category goes from 6 to 12 units per acre. As per our community transportation plan, Young Street has an ultimate right-of-way of 80 feet with a 2-lane section, 2-way left turn lane, curb and gutter, bike lanes, and sidewalks. And a traffic impact analysis was not required, but actually, I might need some help with that one. The peak hour trips don't meet our threshold, but a traffic impact analysis was done for this. And the traffic improvements are detailed here for Main Street and Site Drive 1. Site Drive 1 means the road that's coming off of Main Street, heading north into the development. They need to construct a southbound approach and provide right-in, right-out access for that driveway. And for Young Street and Site Drive 2, and that is the access coming off of Young Street that lines up with Scarborough Street, the applicant needs to construct a westbound approach aligning with Scarborough Street and provide a right turn deceleration lane. And the applicant, when they give their presentation, can give additional information on this. The concept plan for the Broughton Townhomes went through 2 reviews with our technical review committee, and they had several comments, and the applicant did address those. At the planning board meeting in November, board members had questions about pedestrian connectivity, open space and buffering, and building materials. They wanted some more information on the architectural materials that would be used. And also at that meeting, the applicant committed to adding fence and additional landscaping between the townhomes and the adjacent neighborhood. And the board did unanimously recommend approval of the request. So this is an interesting one to talk about staff analysis and recommendation. Downtown, a typical downtown Rolesville is a preferred location for higher density housing because of being able to walk to different services and businesses, restaurants, town hall. So that's where you would typically want to put your medium to higher density housing. I know there are a lot of concerns with citizens for traffic and connectivity, and it's tough because you can look at it as just the use. If you just look at the use, sure, it makes sense in the area. But there are other things going on with this case, and it'll be interesting to hear from the community. So in our Unified Development Ordinance, These are the items listed for the town board to consider when reviewing a rezoning case. Is it consistent with the comprehensive plan? Is there potential for adverse impacts on surrounding areas such as traffic, stormwater, land values, compatibility of uses? And also, the town board may request conditions that have not been offered yet, such as something to do with support facilities, and what that means is like parking areas, connections. You could ask for more landscaping, different landscaping. You could add a condition or request to add a condition about timing of development, and you could request a condition that has to do with street or utility improvements. So this time I'd like to invite the applicant up for their presentation and let you do the public hearing.
Can I ask you a quick question, Meredith? before
Certainly.
you leave? Can you go back to the previous slide, please?
This one.
Yes. Can you explain to me what timing of development is?
An example of timing of development, with the Tucker Wilkins case that was at your last meeting, one of the conditions that was added was that construction could not start until the improvements were made on Rolesville Road. So that's a timing of development type condition.
I got you.
And that was added at that meeting, and that seemed to bring some level of comfort for that development.
Gotcha. And then one other clarification, support facilities?
Support facilities means parking areas, gathering areas. So you could say, I would like there to be additional parking spaces or fewer parking places.
So it's not amenities, though?
Amenities could fall in that as
Could
well.
fall in there?
That could-
Okay.
That's a great one.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to appear before you tonight. Marty Bizzle with Bass, Sixon and Kennedy Engineers in Raleigh, 6310 Chapel Hill Road, here tonight representing this project, which is by KDM Development. And here with me tonight is Charles Hassinger, also representing KDM. I am not here to talk about Cobblestone Village. So surprise there. But we do have another exciting project that is very close to Cobblestone Village and in Broughton Townhomes, as we refer to it now. It is, we are requesting a rezoning to allow R3 conditional zoning for 57 townhomes. Meredith has hit on just about everything I was going to hit on. I did want to share a little bit and that how we have kind of evolved with this. As Meredith mentioned, we have had 2 neighborhood meetings. We also had another meeting with the Terrell Plantation HOA board to better understand their concerns. We have been to the planning board and also gathered their comments. And this really has undergone a little bit of a transformation. We actually now have units that are fronting Young Street. They will be alley fed. So all those units along West Young Street will be front facing. There will be a sidewalk connection to Young Street. We will be improving Young Street, as Meredith mentioned, to the town's standard. So there will be a sidewalk there and a connection from each one of those homes that front Young Street. So we think that's very pedestrian friendly for this area, which kind of blends in with the Main Street vision plan, and as well as its proximity to Cobblestone Village. We also have some on the right side of the plan there that are actually front loaded. They're actually facing a public street. So we do have a variety in the townhomes, and as you see there. One thing that came out of the planning board was that we look at our screening, our buffer, and you can see in the dark green, we are very well buffered as far as a planting buffer, but we went one step further and agreed to do a 6-foot opaque fence along that entire that buffer there. One thing too that has kind of added to our delay in getting here before you was that obviously, as Meredith mentioned, we don't have the trip generation that would typically require a TIA, but with all the development that's going on in the area, it was, and I'll give staff's recommendation, that we take this and we plug it into all of the TIA that's been done for Cobblestone Village, for Broughton Townhomes, and then a possible other project that we have on Scarborough Street. So we felt like now we have a much better plan that is programmed as far as the traffic goes. And it did warrant a right turn lane off of West Young Street. And then it also precipitated our southern entrance there onto North Main Street. It does require us to do a right in, right out. And that is directly corresponded or correlated to the outcome of the traffic impact study, impact analysis, which I think is a much better planned, more regional approach to what's going on at that busy intersection, in addition to the lap project that you guys are very familiar with the improvements on West Young and Main Street. So we feel really good. It has delayed us, but we feel like we're coming out with a better project because everything has been programmed and the model has been updated to include all of those. The other thing that came out of the planning board meeting was more sincere projection on what kind of building materials that we were showing. We did show the building elevations that Meredith shared with you just a moment ago, but we have made sure we called those out, the stone, the masonry, the hardy plank, that kind of thing, and that would stay with this rezoning. So we would be held to that, those building materials and those elevations. So we feel like we've come a long ways from what our sketch plan originally looked like. We do exceed the open space area. One question came up at planning board. As far as our active open space, we have over 2 acres, and what would that be? We haven't actually programmed that yet. It could be a dog park, could be a playground, but it will be programmed by the time we move forward into our construction process. So we feel really good about what we've got. We've listened to a lot of the concerns with the neighborhood. Obviously, and you may hear comments tonight, the public street that we have that connects from West Young Street to Terrell Plantation, we are basically extending that Northwick Drive westward out to make the connection out to Young Street. We've heard some concerns about that, but in order to meet the UDO and have the interconnectivity, we have gone ahead and shown that as directed by the UDO and staff. So I'll stop there.
Are you able to point that out? I don't have that colorful drawing. I have a black and white, which is hard to see. I want to see it in living color.
Yes, if I can.
Yeah, I tried looking at those maps. It's hard to see. I just want him to point it out and for the public too.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, so.
If you do the right click on it, actually wrong one. Where's the mouse?
Oh, the mouse.
The mouse is hiding.
Oh, it's up here.
Right click on the mouse and you can pick like the red pointer options.
Okay.
And then laser pointer.
Okay.
And then it's easier for you.
Very
That's
nice,
what I
very
need.
nice.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so the public street connection for Northwick Drive, currently it ends right here at our property line, and we are proposing a public street, which is a 27-foot back-to-back with curb and gutter and sidewalks on both sides. And that would be extended out to West Young Street and would tie in with our proposed sidewalks and improvements on to West Young Street.
Gotcha. And then one other clarification, since you have the pointer. You said those townhomes that you're proposing on Young Street are facing Young Street? Is that what I heard you say?
Yes, ma'am.
I've never seen that.
Yes, and there would be access by the alley system here, a private alley. So they would be accessed from the rear as far as vehicular access. But the front door would be facing West Young Street and the sidewalk connection out to the sidewalks on West Young Street.
Is that a norm? That feels like a safety issue.
It is becoming more and more popular when I see traditional neighborhood developments are becoming a thing and very popular, where the access is from the rear. And as you drive by West Young Street, you're looking at the front. instead of a driveway and a garage. So
It's different.
it's pretty
Okay.
attractive.
I haven't seen it yet,
Right,
but
right.
that's different. Okay.
Talking about the driveway?
No, he's saying the
front of the
the
building.
front of the home would face Young Street, right? Is that what you're saying?
Right. Mhm.
So I also have a question, because there was a question in regards to the amount of space in the alley.
Mhm.
Emergency vehicles, cars parking on the street.
Right.
So if you can answer that question, and also, what is, and I know Meredith touched on some of them, but there were more changes that I think must have been made between planning and tonight.
Yes, and I'll take the last one first. The changes from, in planning was that we have added, and it's hard to see on here, but this green buffer that we have along the perimeter, we have added, that is a 20-foot wide planted buffer, and we have actually gone back in and added a 6-foot fence to that as well. So to provide extra screening between the adjacent property owners. That was a concern by some of the adjacent property owners. So we have volunteered the 6-foot fence in addition to the 20-foot planted buffer. And so as far as fire, we received some comments from the fire department, and we've addressed those. The alleys would have some guest parking along some of the sides, but for instance, this alley would be 20-foot wide, which is what the fire department requires, and we do not exceed the length of a dead-end street that they require a turnaround. In this particular instance here, we do exceed that, so we provide a fire truck turnaround here at the bottom, which meets the North Carolina Fire Code. So, and then all of these streets here the public streets exceed the width that the fire truck requires.
So if the first one doesn't exceed it, how does the fire truck get in there and get out? Just reverse?
In this instance, they would reverse, basically 150 feet or less, they're okay with reversing if it's over 150 feet to our property line, and then we would extend it out to West Young Street.
It's a dead end right now.
Okay, thank you, because I'm like, wait, what are you saying?
It's a dead
All right,
end.
so where's the road that goes into, or like on the outside of your plan? I don't know the name of the road, but it's across the street from,
Granite Falls.
yes, thank you.
Right.
The Scarborough.
So,
Yes, yeah.
Where the
We
park
have
is.
Scarborough here, but you know, exactly, it goes
okay,
that
so
way.
it's on this, okay.
Right. Sorry, our plan doesn't zoom out very far, so,
So that's why, I just wanted to know where it was on the map.
right.
Okay, so we open up for questions, yeah, I know we did ask them, because I do have some questions. Are you finished?
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right, anybody else? Meredith, did you have anybody else in introduction?
I'm just going to switch it to the public hearing slide.
Okay. All right, well, next item, I will call anybody from the public in favor and comment. I know we had two here, but I think you guys want to make any more comments to the public. Then we got number, get my eyes here, number 225, which is Joan Looper. If you would, state your name and address for the record, Mr. Looper.
Yeah, my name is John Lupfer. I live at 112 Terrell Drive in Terrell Plantation, and I'm also a member of the HOA board in that community. Some of what I was going to talk about tonight, Meredith has already mentioned to you. The biggest thing is that we attended these two meetings back in February of last year. We also had an individual meeting with a representative from the developer after the town meeting. And it raised concerns with us, what they were planning to propose. We were told, as Meredith told you, we had to get petitions in right away because the planning board was going to meet. We did that, and somehow they just disappeared. Completely disappeared. They were hand-delivered into town hall and just disappeared. Then we were told that the rezoning planning meeting boards for rezoning was going to be postponed, which it was. It was put off, it was put off, it was put off. Unfortunately, we lost track of it. Then we found out that the meeting was held in November of this year, of last year, I'm sorry, and our petitions disappeared, so the planning board had no idea that anybody was against this project, couldn't reference anything against this project, so of course, what they do, they turned around and I guess they proposed it to the town unanimously to approve it. Then they put a sign up on Young Street saying there was going to be a public hearing in January. When we inquired about that public hearing, we realized what it was about, and that's when we found out all this mystery about our petitions that just seemed to just vanish into thin air. We contacted Meredith. I brought extra copies into her, hand-delivered it to her myself, and she said she put it into your packets. When we attended the public hearing, the virtual public meeting, I mean, the one in January that was proposed with the developer, we found out some of the additional things they planned on doing, which seemed very nice. But our biggest concern is this. It's a 7-acre piece of property. It's tucked in between and surrounded almost completely by single-family homes. It's already zoned for single-family homes. Why do we have to squeeze 57 townhomes into this 7-acre piece of property that's nestled in between all these single-family homes? To us, it seems totally unnecessary. Everybody talks about traffic surveys. Chandler's Ridge is going up on Young Street. The Preserve at Jones Dairy is going up. Cobblestone Village is going up. Broughton Homes is now going to go up. Does anybody have any idea what the traffic's going to look like on Young Street? Because I'll tell you what, I've been here 9 years. The traffic has turned into a nightmare on Young Street at certain times of the day. When I first came here, I'd go out to Young Street, I'd look this way, and I'd pull out. Now I go out to Young Street, I usually put my car in park and just take a look and see what's going on at certain times of the day, because you can't get out. Between the school coming off of Granite Falls Boulevard, between the swimming club on Granite Falls Boulevard, and I forgot, now you're building the soccer thing, not the soccer, the volleyball business on Granite Falls Boulevard. Does anybody really have any idea what this traffic's going to look like? I doubt it. I doubt it, because it's already a horror to begin with, before any of these things are done. So to squeeze these 57 townhomes into this 7-acre piece of property, to me is overkill. And it is to our community, because as you can see, if you looked at our petitions, we got quite a few signatures from the members of our community in a week's period of time against this proposal. So to us, it's totally unnecessary. It shouldn't be rezoned. It should stay as single-family homes. Our second petition.
Mr. Luke, I was giving everybody 3 minutes, but is it just 2 of you going to speak?
Yes, there's just 2 of us.
All right, being it's just 2 of you, I'll grant you another 2 minutes.
I'm sorry, I'll be finished with this quick.
That's fine,
Our
no
second
problem.
petition was against the Northwick Road extension into this community. On 2 occasions, and we didn't speak to this gentleman that spoke tonight, we asked the representative of the townhome complex, why is it necessary for them to bring Northwick Road out to Young Street? Both times they told us they didn't care whether Northwick Road was connected to their property or not. This gentleman said he proposed it to you. We were told by the other gentleman that the town told them that since it's a public street, they had to make the connection. They didn't have a choice. I want to know, what's the reason for the connection? They already have 2 exits, one out to Young Street, one out to North Main Street. You open up the connection into our community, so they're going to come in Northwick Road, they're going to drive eighth of a mile to a quarter of a mile through our community, and where are they going to exit? Back on Young Street. What sense does that make? They've already got an exit that's probably a couple hundred feet right out to Young Street. Why would they have any reason whatsoever to drive through our community to get back out to the same road? That's the first thing. The second thing is, Avondale Assisted Living Facility is at the end of Northwick Road right now in our community. They walk their people in our community. We have children that walk in our community. The Granite Falls Swim Club has an exercise group that comes and runs in our community. Why? Because there's no traffic in our community. The only people that go in our community are people that live there. So there's no through traffic. There's no reason for them to be concerned about traffic. Everybody feels very safe in our community. There's no reason for these townhomes to go through our community. And we don't need a 3rd exit out to Young Street. We've already got 2. We don't need 3. So even if you're going to approve these townhomes, we really hope that you would seriously consider not opening up Northwick Road to this new development. And that's really all I have to say.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you for letting me speak, by the
Yep,
way.
thank you. And next person is Michelle King, 226, I think. If you would, Michelle, state your name and address for the record.
Michelle King. I live at 316 Woodley Farm Road. I also live in Terrell Plantation. And I'm not going to repeat, a lot of what John said. I'm really specifically going to speak about Northwick Road opening and the safety of what I view as safety for the development of the townhomes, and what I think that the town council needs to consider when you decide on this community. First of all, I would say do not extend Northwick into this development. It serves no purpose for the Broughton community or ours. They're proposing 57 unit townhomes. It really has no need for 3 entrances for that size of a community. It would potentially cause more traffic for both communities, which in turn, in my opinion, is a safety concern for both of us. We have a 76-unit community. It's a single-family home community. We have had 2 entrances since the conception of our community, and it's been more than adequate for a 76-unit community to have only 2 entrances. And again, we have 76 homes, and that's the size of our development, and we've had no issues with the 2 that we have. We have a mixed community in our neighborhood. We have families that have younger children, we have families with teens, we have middle-aged adults, but the majority of the people in our neighborhood are senior citizens. Our community is very active, from the families with their small children all the way up to the seniors who walk and have remained very active within our community. Not having a lot of through traffic has made this community a very safe place to walk, jog, allow the kids to ride their bikes, and for residents to walk their pets. We would like to continue to be able to do the things in our community safely. The opening of Northwick to through traffic, through another community to Main Street. There's an exit, if you look at what they're proposing here, there's an exit on Main Street, and if you go straight, there's also an exit on Young Street. So that's adding 2 more exits, entrances and exits to our neighborhood, and for the townhomes, it's 3, if that road is open. Find my place, sorry. So anyways, what my point is on that is that we want to be able to continue to utilize our neighborhood as we've always been. We have come to enjoy and depend on throughout our neighborhood is this feeling of safety. I've understood that a former town board decided years ago that they wanted all developments to connect. So an ordinance was passed to do so. That may have been a vision years ago, and maybe made sense years ago. I feel like, things have changed, plans change, and the ordinance for every road to connect to something else, that ordinance needs to change. Especially if we're talking about safety of neighbors, the people who live in the communities. If it's a safer place for them to not be connected everywhere, then I think that we need to keep that in place. You all have the authority to do that. You can make the choice whether, to open a road or not to open a road. Maybe that ordinance, you decide that on a case-by-case basis or however you want to do it. But I think that, a lot of things need to be considered before you just say, yes, we need to connect everything needs to be connected. So I'm hoping that you will make an adjustment and not open Northwick Road. The next thing that I want to say, I know that I'm getting a little long, but this is safety in regards to the townhome. If you do decide to approve the request to rezone this area from single home residential to be able to allow these townhomes, with or without the opening of Northwick, there are safety issues for this development that need to be addressed. In my opinion, I think that the town board needs to require the developers to add a crosswalk to cross at Scarborough Street. And the reason why I'm saying this is Young Street, again, is a very busy road. Children who would potentially live in that development would be crossing that street to walk to school. Sanford Creek is right across the street. Rolesville Elementary is right here. The location of those townhomes, those children would be considered walkers. So they're going to need to cross the street, a very busy street. They're also, going to want to walk to the park. Maybe they're going to want to walk to the new volleyball facility. They need a safe place to cross that street. Families are going to need, adults are going to need to be able to cross that street to get to anything that they're going to go to get to the new cobblestone development. If you look, you can't really see by just this picture. If you could see the street, Young Street, with a different map showing everything around that, there's no sidewalk on this side of Young Street. There is going to be a sidewalk in front of this development, but that sidewalk is going to begin and end, boom, right there at that development. They're not extending it to those past the homes that are on that same side of the street. They're single-family homes that have been there for years and years and years. There's no sidewalk there. Anyone who wants to walk somewhere is going to have to cross that street. So I think that a crosswalk needs to be put in there, and one that has a flashing light that they can push so that they can cross that street safely. Just to give you an example, when my youngest child attended Sanford Creek, we were considered walkers due to our short distance from the school. The safety of crossing Young Street was questioned, and Wake County Public School System decided to provide a bus to pick up my child and the other children attending Sanford Creek due to the danger of crossing Young Street. My youngest child right now that I'm speaking of is a sophomore in college. This was 12 years ago, and this was deemed not safe for a child to cross that street to go to school. So much more development has happened since then. The traffic on Young Street was a concern back then. It's even a bigger concern now. With no traffic lights to stop the flow of traffic, there's nothing, if nothing else, require crosswalks and signals installed in front of any development on that street. There's one more thing that I think that you all can consider that in the past, when I've been to town meetings about developments, when the future development is expected to warrant a traffic signal in the future, the board has decided to collect fees from developers per unit sold and earmark that money in an account to utilize that to place a traffic light up in the future. That may be something that you may want to consider with any development around in this area, to collect those funds from the developers. That'll ease the money, the expense that the town would have to pay in the future for traffic lights in this area. I just hope that you consider what I've said. I know I was long, I apologize, but I really feel that it's a safety issue with, what they're developing. And I don't know if you have to vote on this tonight or not, but if you have never seen these townhomes that open up to the street, Village Pharmacy in Wake Forest, the townhomes across from where Village Pharmacy is, where they're putting in a new stoplight there and a new development before you go over the bridge. There's townhomes that look like that they're open to that main street there. So if you want to take a look at something like that before you make a decision.
Thank you, Ms. King. Appreciate that. Okay, and I'll just say, anybody in the public for or against that wants to speak that have not spoken. All right. I'll turn it back over to you. Any closing thoughts, Meredith?
I'm here available for your questions.
Okay.
I have a question. I'm not sure if it's for you or the developer. Are we talking 2 or 3-story townhome?
I'll let the developer answer that. Okay, 2-story, they said.
I have some questions.
Certainly.
The first one is about the traffic impact analysis. So the traffic impact analysis that was submitted, did I read this correctly in that it was built off of the one that was submitted for Cobblestone?
I believe so. I would like the applicant to add to that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, the traffic study was done, it was built off of Cobblestone. We contracted through the town to secure the services of Ramey Kemp and Associates, who did the traffic study. And they plugged in Cobblestone, Broughton, and then a potential project on Scarborough Street that we were looking at, as far as the number of potential units that may come from that. And rerun the models, and basically what we're seeing is a product of that. It precipitated the right turn lane, the right in, right out off of Main Street. So yes, to answer your question, it has all been programmed in that new traffic impact analysis.
Okay, so I'm asking a question.
Sure, absolutely.
So if I'm understanding correctly, this was built off of the traffic impact that was submitted for Cobblestone, is that correct?
Right, initially it just involved Cobblestone. And then, like I said, I give staff the credit. They saw what we were doing with these other developments or potential developments that were coming in the same general area. And we stopped and said, oh, we need one traffic impact analysis that takes into account all of these developments. And so that's where we're at. And like I say, we say that's a delay. That's if you look at when our neighborhood meeting was a year ago to now, that part of that was trying to get all this programmed in. So, but we feel like we got a better product.
Okay, so this is the concern that I have. When, in July of last year, when you presented the Cobblestone traffic impact analysis, I had a concern that Scarborough and Broughton were included in that study, but some of the developments that are being developed further down Young Street were not included in that. And I asked you if that was the case, and you said yes. You said that the traffic impact analysis, was being redone and revised. I went back and watched the video. So if it was being redone and revised to include those developments that are already being developed on Rogers Road, was that submitted to the town? The new revised, reworded, redone traffic impact analysis?
What I'm speaking of specifically that I'm aware of was, Cobblestone, Broughton, and then our Scarborough potential.
Right, and my concern, the reason that I'm asking that is because if it built off of the one that was submitted for Cobblestone, and it did not include the developments that are already being developed, I don't see where that could be accurate for us to consider tonight. Am I off somewhere?
I can't really speak for the traffic engineer, but I do know they do program what they know in addition to traffic counts that they're using, and then anything that they know potentially might be coming, like ours. We were providing the numbers of units and residential units and things like that. I couldn't really speak of anything outside of that area. I just know, in our conversations, we knew we were developing right here together, and we needed to have these new ones programmed in. So I really couldn't answer your question. I would like to think that they included anything that they knew as far as traffic counts that would have gone into stuff.
I would like to as well, but in our last discussion, you did acknowledge that that they weren't all in there. So that's my only concern. Has it been updated since it was being redone and revised? And if it is, the town needs that one for Cobblestone, even though we're not talking about Cobblestone.
Right.
But I want to know, are these numbers based off of redone and revised?
Right. And I don't know that I can, unless the town, and this was a little bit of a joint venture with the town. We provided funding for it, and then the town administered the contract with Ramey Kemp, but I could not answer that, honestly.
So who can I call to answer that question?
I guess Ramey, the contact there. Ramey.
Sounds like a new traffic. I think you bring out a good point, Commissioner Sneed. It sounds like a new traffic impact analysis may be needed before we can move forward on this. And you know how I feel about traffic.
I have some grave concerns about
I think it's necessary to get some updated information because there has been a lot of approvals since. And if it's not all-inclusive, it's very difficult to make that call without knowing that information. So I think you raised a very good point.
I do think that would help because even based on some numbers that we have from last year's, the traffic, what's it called, Kelly? The community transportation plan, I have some concerns about the amount of traffic already on Young Street, which, given the 2013 numbers, was inching up there. And this is 8 years later. So we have a whole lot more homes, a whole lot more that are being developed. And I think that Young Street, I'd like to see what that looks like for Young Street before I agree to approve anything.
I have a question that was asked, I guess from one of your readings. Is there any further discussion about the traffic light? Because you're gonna need a traffic light.
Where?
I'm trying to figure out on, what is the street again going into?
Scarborough.
Yes, coming out going right, coming out going left. It's like playing chicken, because there's gonna be so much traffic on that road.
That's a narrow road, too.
Very.
Yeah.
So, I see it was a question asked, and someone said it was up to, whatever, the question was not answered.
Right.
And also, this development is a high-density development.
Mm-hmm.
You're asking for a lot.
I agree.
It's not medium.
Can I make Mayor, am I able to make a motion at this point?
Can I give
can't hear
you?
you.
Let's get off public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, I do have some information I'd like to share, too.
We're gonna
So,
do that.
in light of the traffic, I asked our planning board to give us an idea of units, and the units were based on from Main Street up Young Street, Averitt Road, up to 98, which is 2.5 miles roughly, and then from the bypass to the very bottom of Rolesville Road, because we always talk about Rolesville Road. Real quick, the one we're always worried about, which is Rolesville Road, single-family homes, we have 1316 versus 1445 on Young Street right now, already approved. And then for townhomes, we have 422 on Rolesville Road. We have 408 on Young Street, already approved. And multifamily on Young Street, we have 176 approved. And both of those roads are roughly 2.5 miles long. So you have more units already on Young.
Yes, sir.
Versus Rolesville Road. And the other thing I wanted to put out there, they were talking about Northwick being an extension. We did grant an approval to a previous neighborhood, which was Hopper Communities, that we would not tie into an existing neighborhood down there too. So that was an option. That was a out in the country, not Rolesville neighborhood, but we did grant that, that we would not connect that to. So that was an option we've given previously to another community.
What was the purpose of the third road opening again? I may have missed it, I'm sorry, it's just so much going on.
The purpose,
Of opening,
Northwick.
Yeah, what was the purpose of that third road?
this connection that the red cursor is on right now,
Yes.
the purpose of that is to provide connectivity through neighborhoods.
There was something, I'm sorry.
Good information.
Any other questions for Meredith?
Is there a possibility of just building single homes in that neighborhood?
That would be,
But I'm asking, is there?
A plan?
Can that be done?
You're asking the
I
developer.
mean, I know that it can be done. Is that an option for you to do?
Who are you asking?
The developer.
Over there.
That's,
I'm not sure who I'm,
Developers are over there.
they're over there.
I'm asking because that's like I said, that's high density.
Right.
And you're going from low to high, not even to medium.
Yeah.
The traffic, even the parking, guest parking, how is that gonna work out?
So the guest parking is, that's a good point. We didn't bring out tonight. We are providing 46 guest parking spaces for guests, which is in line with the UDO of the town as well.
All right, let me just try to understand something. So the driveway, the parking lot, the driveway for each townhome, that's for one car or two cars?
That would count for 2 cars.
Okay, there's one car garage for each townhome.
Right.
And then in some of the areas here, you have extra guest parking in the back?
Yes, ma'am. We've got a guest parking lot here with, I think, with 10 spaces, 14 spaces here, and then we have parking along this street here, and then we have a couple spaces here. So we have 46 proposed for guest parking.
And you have how many units again, 57?
57.
And with guest parking, so that's not affecting the 20-foot roads that are back there, or that's?
Right, it's in addition to the 20-foot, right.
Any other questions? Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor, I would have one thing, if I may. We were just discussing amongst ourselves, if there is great concern over the traffic study, we would like to ask to have time to go back and with our traffic engineer and get those questions answered to see if it has been taken into account or if it has not been taken into account, that further study be done. So we would ask that you possibly consider tabling this until we can have time to do that, and we will get back before you.
I have a question about that.
Yeah, it's just a quick question.
It's gonna be a quick question. And I don't know if we're allowed to do this, but if it has been taken into account, do we vote on that? Or do we tell you, how do we get through this without having to?
There's more studies that apparently need to be done, and I was doing research, and that since those considerations need to happen, that we could probably make a motion that we move to postpone this matter until further studies.
Before you do that, I just want to.
No. I'm just saying as an example, that we could do that until further studies be done.
Right, but that's not really the question. I knew we could do that. Hopefully everybody else did. I'm asking if it was taken into consideration already. We have to wait until then to make a motion on yes or no, correct? You don't understand what I'm saying?
I don't know that I do, but it's entirely at the board's pleasure. The board can take any action on this it wishes. I did hear a board member mention tabling this. If it is something the board wants to take up again at a future meeting, I would recommend that the motion be formed as a continuance to your next regular meeting, or if more time is needed, 2 cycles, so that there's enough time.
So can I make a motion now?
Well, let me get through the public hearing first. I do have a question for Meredith, and this, I guess this is on behalf of the board, but you mentioned that this is in our comprehensive plan as medium,
Yes.
but it's being requested as high density. I think Michelle brought that up. So what is the planning department process that it comes all the way to us before there's even decision made that we want to change from medium to high density? Or is this the first time we get the chance to say that it's okay to change that?
It is your first time. So with the comprehensive plan and the future land use designation, that is a guiding document. It is not ordinance. So it is a foundational piece. And with that medium density residential, it's the density and it's the housing type. So they're meeting the housing type and they're exceeding the density. So you could, depending on how black and white you are, you could say it's not meeting the future land use designation, or you could say it's the density is slightly over, the use is the same as what's in medium density residential. So that's the foundational guiding document, and then our land development ordinance, or in this case, the Unified Development Ordinance, provides the regulations. But it's up to you, I'll go back to the rezoning review standards. It's up to you to make the decision if you believe it's consistent with the comprehensive plan and would have adverse impacts.
Yeah, I think, where I'm kind of stumped at, they're asking for R3, which R3 can be used in medium density.
Yes.
But they're asking for R3 to be used in high density in something the comprehensive plan as medium density. So how do you
reconcile that?
How do you reconcile that? Yeah, how does the board reconcile that before it gets to here tonight,
The planning board?
The planning board or the town board? Or both?
I'll just say the planning
Okay.
department group.
Of the planning department. Again, we looked at it as it's a townhome that falls into that medium density category. Sure, the density is a little higher. It's not too far off.
Okay.
So let me ask you this. I know where the traffic impact study is in question right now, but based on the density alone, isn't that enough to vote tonight? I'm not saying we are going to, but I'm asking that.
So as part of any zoning vote, you would, and as you've done in the past, you would make a consistency statement as part of that vote. In this case, you could either determine as a body that it is consistent with the comp plan or that it is inconsistent with the comp plan but reasonable. If you determine it's inconsistent with the comp plan, then essentially you have amended the comprehensive plan as to this location. And on future land use maps, when we go to update it, it would show this location as high-density residential, and that would then be guidance to future property owners as to what might happen in this location. But that was an explicit change made as part of 160D, that it would constitute an automatic amendment. The mayor may remember from prior terms, we used to, if there was a comprehensive plan inconsistency, we would have two applications, one to amend the comprehensive plan and one to do the rezoning, and now it's been collapsed. You're essentially amending the comp plan when you do the zoning case.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was thinking more, because really, that's the question this board has faced tonight. Did it change that comp plan, or is this close enough for government work, But, all right, here we are. I apologize, board, for asking that question, but I thought it was a good question.
That was a very good question.
But we can, I'm not sure where you was going, Commissioner Sutton, but we can table this if you want more information and a transportation study, or I can close public hearing and take it to a vote. But before you make a motion, I want to know whether we want to close the public hearing or not.
I was going to move to continue it, I guess, so we could get more information. I do want to get more information on the traffic impact, especially with the numbers that we have. And I feel like the numbers might be a little higher than that. But I would like to do that to get a traffic impact analysis done. We can look at the existing one to see if it was all-inclusive, but I also want the town of Rolesville to start doing their own TIAs and then billing the developer for our TIAs. We need to talk about that as a board.
That is the case, right?
That is our
we already do that.
process.
Okay, that is our process.
We have two on-call traffic engineering consultants, and we help develop the scoping.
Okay.
Oh,
so-
great.
So I'm recommending that be done
Be
for this
asked again.
if it hasn't been done, but also I want us to, can I say an and in there? I want us to look at the connectivity issue, because I do think there has been some years since that's been revisited, and I want to make sure that when we say connectivity, it makes sense. We need to make it make sense instead of doing something that's just a rule we put in place that may not be applicable in the current state. So for those reasons, I would like to continue this. Hopefully, we could get to it at our next first of the month meeting, and if not, continue it to a date that's feasible once everything is completed.
I would be pretty confident in saying that the traffic analysis work would take more time than
Gotcha.
the time between now and March 1st.
Okay.
Okay, I have a question. So if it's continued, is that when we discuss the number of the density? Do we do that later?
That's my question
it's
right there.
continued?
Like if, like what April said, what I was saying, if it's already high density and that's not the goal for that location, for that zoning, Does the traffic impact study even matter at that point? Or is it just a reference for everybody moving forward in the next development?
I'm with you.
That's your decision.
I'm
think
thinking we're already in it's already showing that it's going to be high density.
I think that's the commission you 5 commissioners have to make. Do you want to stick to what you said in the past? On the
Yes.
comprehensive land use plan? It's just a plan. It's not something you have to stick to. But I do think you have to, decide on. It'd be less confusing if you know what you want to do.
Exactly, versus changing it all the time.
Yeah. So if if you want to stick to that, sounds like to me, the direction would be take a look at the comprehensive land use plan, how you can make this work there, and connect. It sounds like the connection of the street, and then the third thing would be a traffic study, I think, if I'm summing it up correctly.
Yes, sir.
And with that, I think I can just extend the public hearing.
The public hearing can remain open, or it can be closed and reopened at the later date. And the motion would be a motion to continue, it sounds like, to 2 cycles, which I'll ask the clerk, is that April 5th?
Yes.
April 5th?
And if the work is not ready by then, you would bring it to the board on April 5, and you may continue it again if you decide that's what you want to do.
So Commissioner Sneed, you want me to?
I'm still not comfortable with that because I feel like we're spinning our wheels on something that we already know. The high density is a factor in this decision, not just the traffic, even though that's equally important. So to keep extending it, it's like saying, what are you going to do? Extend it to the point where they're going to say, okay, we'll build single-family homes or less townhomes?
Well,
when does it end?
Well, my purpose in extending it is because I do want a TIA based on the numbers.
Right.
To me, we haven't, even if we have one, I feel like it goes back to 2018, if I'm not mistaken. When I look in we're in 2022. So what does it look like since we've done these additional approvals? I don't have that information, so that's why I would like to continue it based on that.
Right, but we're continuing based on that. When you get those numbers, whether you agree with them or
We can still make the
not.
decision you're saying about the density at that point, but I would like to get that information because I just don't know that. What if it comes back and it says, no, this fits, we're good, right? I don't have that information, right, for
Right,
traffic
just for the
purposes,
traffic.
yes.
But there's another component, and that part is not good as of tonight. So are we getting the traffic impact study that's not going to be billed to the town, correct? Are we getting that for our records only, or our reference?
Madam Commissioner, the board has the power to approve any rezoning so long as it's reasonable, including one that would be inconsistent with comp plan.
Right, and maybe I'm saying not to approve it.
You could
Based
make a
on the
motion, it could be a motion to deny.
Right, so that's why I'm trying to hear what the other commissioners have to say to that. I know what you're saying, Sheila, I fully understand that. But the point is, we're going to get that for our reference, but so as not to waste anybody else's time, look at the other component. You're already in high density here, and that's not what that location, that zoning is set for. It's not set for high density. I think I'm getting hot in this mask. So I don't want to make a motion against your motion, but I just want to make sure that you all understand what I'm saying.
You're just saying, don't kick it down the road if we're not going to.
Exactly.
I understand.
You know?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good question for the board. If you're not comfortable with high density, you need to probably speak up now.
I'm not comfortable
I'm
with high
just trying-
density.
I'm trying to
That's why
find where the
I'm asking,
motion
when do we
is.
talk about that?
Well, y'all
Because
go ahead and make another motion. Do I take
I'm
my
trying to
motion
find
off
where the
floor
motion,
and y'all
does
do
anybody
what
have it
y'all wanna
up?
Well, sound like the board wanted to deny this one then?
Yeah.
Or
I
extend it?
do.
You
I don't want to
to-
extend it because I don't want to, 278.
Okay. Everybody agree with that?
what's 278?
I stated what
Oh,
I
the
was
houses?
interested in.
You want to
Yeah.
More
extend it?
information.
I want to make a motion to not move forward with this here, to deny it.
All right.
But I'm just trying to find a verbiage for it.
So do we need to,
Do
you
we
need to
need
make
to-
your positive motion, though?
Yeah. Well, you
I'm
don't have-
positive I want to make that
No, I'm saying
motion. I'm sorry.
You want to make a motion, I don't want to say that.
How am I supposed to phrase this?
Following discussions with various commissioners, The form of the motion is entirely up to you. The mayor has a strategy for dealing with a circumstance in which a motion to deny did not pass.
Yeah.
So is that what you need me to say?
What do you want to say? What do
I
you
want to make a motion
All
to
right.
not pass
Let me
this.
make sure, before you do that,
Okay,
everybody good with closing this public hearing then?
yes.
Yes, close
Yeah.
the hearing.
Okay, well, I will close the public hearing and turn the matter over to the board for decision and discussion. And if, I entertain a motion if somebody wants to make one.
But can I say this? I still think we need to get a TIA regardless of what the decision is. For our records, for our reference for future development. Is that problematic?
A traffic impact analysis would examine this particular proposal and decide what to do about
No, I'm
this
talking
one.
about in general, period, for that area.
Sure.
Problematic, yeah.
The town could commission a more general traffic study, which was what was done for our comprehensive plan. We had a more general study as to what sort of road improvements would be needed.
And that wouldn't be the only location where we would need one, based on what you
Right,
were
but
asking.
Young and
Yes.
Roseville are the big
All
hot
right,
items
so,
right now.
so to make that motion, I just need to know, is there any particular words I need to use?
There's a form of the motion in your package.
That's what I was trying to find. What page is that? Good. Ronnie has his up. Okay, I make a motion to deny the map amendment MA 20-03 for Broughton Town Hall houses.
Okay, Commissioner Medley has a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
I think I heard Commissioner Vilger make the second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
No.
Okay, I think it carries 4-1. And that's a motion to deny, which has a majority vote on it. So I think you should be satisfied with that. All right. Next public hearing is public hearing MA 21-09 and ANX 21-06, which is Walbrook. And while we transitioning the change here, if we would take a 5-minute break, a little bit more than 5 minutes. Let's be back at 9:05 by the clock here in the chambers, if you would, 9:05. Thank you. We're on recess.
Thank you, Ronnie. Kelly, is the heat turned on or is it the AC?
Neither. Everything's off.
Also, it's probably from over here. It just feels extra warm in here. Is that me?
You bumped it down? Did you bump it?
No, I did not turn on air
Maybe it
conditioning.
is.
Do you want the Mayor, do you have any preference about staff reports?
No, I think,
No?
Next time?
Motion to deny.
Motion for denial.
come on back, get in.
Break out the covers.
Call the meeting back in order.
We are on Walbrook.
Next item on the agenda is number 3 in the board actions. It's a public hearing for MA 21-09 and ANX 21-08 dealing with the Walbrook property. And Meredith, you up again.
Excellent. Good evening again. For your consideration are a rezoning request and an annexation petition for the Walbrook property. For the rezoning case, it is 19.59 acres located on South Main Street and Burlington Mills Road. And for the annexation case, it's those same properties plus a parcel across or on the south side of Main Street. And the total acreage for the annexation petition is 64.04 acres. And I'll have a slide that illustrates that in just a moment. So for the rezoning request, there are 3 properties. You can see them outlined in yellow on this vicinity map. And then with the annexation, it adds the property that has the blue shading over it. The applicant has provided a draft annexation petition. Again, I've highlighted the parcels to be annexed in blue because I think it's easier to see, and that it totals 64.04 acres. And now we will focus more on the rezoning request. The current zoning for the 3 parcels on the north side of Main Street are 2 of them are general industrial conditional zoning district, and the third, the smaller piece, is residential low. The applicant proposes to change the zoning to general commercial conditional zoning district. And the applicant provided this great exhibit that helps you see the properties that are proposed to be rezoned and how they relate to the overall Walbrook development. And then when the applicant comes up to give his presentation, he can give you some more information on that. So there are a few proposed zoning conditions with this case. First, the site plan and development of the subject property will be bound by the requirements and specifications in the TIA that was done in August 2020 by Stantec Consulting, and will complete traffic improvements as set forth in an October 2020 memo by Stantec, and that was included in your packet. The applicant sounds like they had a great neighborhood meeting that was held, I believe, January 4th. And they continued to work with the adjoining or the adjacent neighborhood after the meeting. And they've proposed these conditions right before the planning board meeting, and that includes increasing the landscaping and adding a fence between the neighborhood and the commercial development, and then noting that any light poles less than 30 feet from the buffer boundary will be limited to only 25 feet in height and be cut-off fixtures. So as per our comprehensive plan, the future land use classification is industrial, and I love the way Mr. Neal explained how you would get an automatic comprehensive plan amendment. And again, this is one where industrial and commercial aren't the same, but they're adjacent or analogous somewhat. And then as per our greenway and multipurpose trail map, there would be a greenway going through the site, and this would be worked out during the development plan review. As per our community transportation plan, Main Street has a variable right-of-way. I believe it's about 88 to 109 feet, and it would be a 2-lane median divided with side path and sidewalk. And Burlington Mills has an ultimate right-of-way of 110 feet, but would be a 4-lane median divided section. So for staff analysis, I talked a little bit about the land use designation going from industrial to commercial. And I used the color wheel at the planning board meeting saying, you know, there are analogous colors like orange and red. They're not the same, but it's a different experience than comparing red to green. So these aren't opposite uses, they're adjacent or analogous. Plus, the proposed commercial zoning would allow the subject property to be part of the larger Walbrook development. And one of the overarching recommendations in our comprehensive plan is to increase services for our residents, and this is an appropriate area to do so. So on balance, staff does recommend approval of this rezoning request. Our land development ordinance includes these 8 items for the town board to consider when looking at a rezoning request. Consistency with the comprehensive plan, meeting the land development ordinance, are we correcting any errors? I'll jump down to number 8. If this is a conditional rezoning request, which this is, you could consider if the conditions that are offered mitigate issues that would result if the property were simply zoned in a straight district without conditions. For example, the applicant is offering a condition to increase the landscape buffer and add a fence there. That's not required. So at this time, I'd like to invite the applicant up to share some additional information.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not sure if I declared the public hearing open. The public hearing is open.
And I do apologize because I kept pointing to you for another development. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I was confusing everybody by pointing and looking in different directions. I'm sorry.
Good evening, Mayor and the board. It's nice to be in front of you again. And thank you, Meredith, for the nice introduction. This has been a long time coming. It's actually kind of a strange time here at the end, as so many things with the road project are culminating tonight with the next 2 votes after the rezoning and petition to annexation, rather, to be asking for this rezoning. But really the only reason we were delayed, just so the council knows, is that we started a rezoning of the 12 acres that is where the future alignment of Burlington Mills Road comes through it. About 1.5 years ago, and that was the time that DOT, after looking at the rest of our project, decided that there needed to be a traffic signal at Virginia Water Drive, the future intersection of Virginia Water Drive and Main Street. For that reason, that caused us to become very interested in the 7-acre property that backs up to Hampton Point next to Bojangles. If we were going to be funding those improvements in a traffic signal, we might as well own it. And so we did add that piece of property to our assemblage, stepped back, worked with Stantec and DOT in the town to scope a new transportation impact analysis. And by the time we had those results, we actually came in for a special use permit that vested us for our residential use on the 58-acre tract across the street. And when we did that, we had negotiated a TIA with associated memos that relate to the LAP grant project that vested all of our improvements on all of the commercial pieces, including the 12 acres and the 7 acres that are up for rezoning tonight. So essentially, the town, by approving our special use permit, vested our traffic analysis in our SUP with the assumption that these 2 tracts would be rezoned to commercial. So that's our request tonight, is to complete that rezoning. As Meredith mentioned, we had a public meeting and we had about 14 to 15 attendants. They were all from the Hampton Point community behind us. Interestingly, their primary concern, interestingly, understandably, their primary concern was keeping a very thick, mature buffer of existing trees intact. And there was some question actually whether the LDO would actually allow us to take all those trees down and put back a certain type of buffer that met those requirements. So the conditions that we've proposed for this rezoning are negotiated directly with them, including multiple trips on site, standing in the woods, saying here's where the line's going to be. And they're very happy with that, and no one came to the planning board meeting, and we were approved unanimously. And so we respectfully ask for your approval of this rezoning request tonight. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the applicant? Okay, Meredith, anything you want to add before I open up to the public?
No, sir. I will just put it on the public hearing slide.
Okay.
Thank you.
I did not get a sign-up sheet. Did anybody sign up to speak in that you know of? Okay. Well, I'll just ask, is there any comments from the public in favor? Any comments from the public in opposition? Okay. Board, any comments you got or any questions you got, ask it now, because once I close the public hearing, I'm going to be a little bit stricter going forward. You know, I've been advised by the attorney I need to be a little bit stricter. Once I close the public hearing, no one from the public will be able to answer any of your questions.
I just have one question. Is there no one on the other side?
No, they
Okay.
cut the lights on.
Gotcha. That was my question.
So everybody understands that?
I have several questions.
Okay.
Just clarification on, so this is being zoned, what was it? Or requested to be zoned General Commercial Conditional Zoning District?
Yes.
How is that different from multi-use? Is that what is there a multi-use?
There's we have some mixed-use districts.
Mixed use, that's what I'm trying to say, mixed
We
use.
have an activity center mixed-use district, we have a town center district, and a neighborhood center one.
So the, I don't know what direction this is, this bottom portion, right?
Yes.
Is going to be mixed use, right? No? I'm trying to understand, because
I
it will
may
be
defer to the
residential.
applicant on that.
Okay.
As far as I know, it's predominantly commercial, and there's a townhome portion.
So it's predominantly commercial. Is that the difference? Okay, I just needed to clarify that. And the other side is all commercial that's
Yes.
being requested? And then I
Commercial or
just
office.
Okay. And then I just need some clarity on the sites. The
Okay.
north site, south site, east site, and west site, the timing of those. Because for some reason, I keep hearing that Publix is coming on in 2023, and I would just like the applicant to clarify that.
Sure.
Come up, Austin, if you don't mind, and kind of give a timetable that you see. I think the board is interested in understanding what's going to happen. And I know you don't have a perfect crystal ball, but I do know DOT has approved everything, and we should get the Main Street started pretty soon, I think, so.
Publix has a timetable for
Yeah,
that,
that's correct. Now, the Publix parcel and everything on the south side of the street is not part of the rezoning. So we're bringing these three northern parcels into consistent zoning with what's on the south. But it is one project that we're approaching from a holistic design vision, so it's clearly appropriate to talk about it all together. We need roads, not just through our site to connect it, Virginia Water Drive to Main Street and connect to future Burlington Mills Road, but we need the actual Main Street project to be meaningfully along in order to open up the public store. Right now, it does seem like the project is on pace to start construction. The town-managed lab grant project to start construction mid-year or sooner. So I would defer to Kelly with any exact predictions, but I would say we should see dirt moving around June 1, plus or minus a month. Or I'd say maybe plus a month.
Do me a favor, can you point to which ones we're referring to again tonight? I just want to make sure I didn't switch it.
This site, which is 7 acres,
Okay.
is general industrial, and so it could be a landfill or a chicken processing plant, heavy industrial. This
Okay, so it
site,
can't be a landfill, so we don't need
this site is heavy industrial, and then there's a little sliver here that, for random reasons, and most of it's going to be underneath asphalt, when Burlington Mills Road is realigned, there's a little residential low-zoned piece that's going to be under a road here shortly. So completing the time question, we expect to open up the Publix in third quarter of 2023, so long as there's no delays to the Main Street construction. And we don't expect all of Main Street to be complete, but those areas that are here between Jonesville Road to the Burlington Mills Road extension need to be pretty far along in order to be able to provide sufficient and safe access for customers.
So timing with the Main Street, got it. It just says in the information, it's in the south site, and it says 2025, and I was just clarifying that purpose.
Was that in the TIA?
It's executive summary.
Oh, okay.
So it says 2025 for everything except the north. So I'm not sure, but just wanted to clarify, because I keep hearing skirmish about 2023, and I just wanted to confirm.
Okay.
Since I want to hear it from
Yeah, that
your
may have
mouth.
been a deadline of some sort, but we do expect, look, with roads and traffic signals up, we're, I guess, more motivated than anyone
Sure.
to harvest the market demand that shows up, if it's the right uses, if it makes sense for us and for the town to move quickly. So we're not going to move so quickly that we leave everybody, wanting for better users, that sort of thing. We're going to be smart about it, but we do want to move as quickly as the market allows for development.
Gotcha, thank you. And I just need to clarify one other thing on the signals that are going to be installed, or the lights. Are those mast arms? I feel like we discussed this before.
Yes, they will be mast arms.
Okay, just wanted to clarify. Awesome,
And
thank
so
you.
that would be a signal here at Virginia Water Drive and a signal here at future Burlington Mills Road.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, that good, Commissioner Sutton?
Oh, yeah, I'm good.
Any more questions before I close the public hearing? Did you want to make any comments before I close the public hearing?
No, sir, just want to make sure there weren't any more questions.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to close the public hearing and turn it over to board for deliberations and considerations. So,
I'd like to make a motion to approve the map amendment. Rezoning comes first, right, David? Yes. For the rezoning of MA 21-09 Walbrook Brook property.
I second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve map amendment 2109. Is there any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any. I think that's unanimous. I need one more motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the annexation petition, ANX 21-06 Walbrook property, received under GS 160 Alpha-31.
Got a motion? Second? So I got a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any. Unanimous again, Madam Clerk. Thank you. And I think we got one more matter to take up with Walbrook, and this is not a public hearing. This is just a, who's handling that? Is that Meredith again? Or that's Michael taking that one, okay? Come on up, Michael. Introduce yourself to the board for us.
I will. Thank you. Good evening. Michael McFarland, Community and Economic Development Manager for the town of Rolesville. Happy to be here tonight. Good evening, board and commissioners. There are two documents being brought before the board tonight that were previously introduced at the January 18th work session. That was just 2 weeks ago. The town and the developer of the Walbrook development have been coordinating efforts and to take advantage of efficiencies and kind of bringing the Walbrook development roadway improvements into the town's Main Street LAP grant project. And one of these documents, the first one, the infrastructure agreement, lays out a reimbursement structure between the town and Walbrook for when construction on the Main Street project begins. And the other document, the roadway reimbursement agreement, details a transportation impact fee credit request by the developer in exchange for additional contributions to the project that are above and beyond what would typically be required. And so these agreements now include some exhibits as attachments, which were not included when we first brought these documents to you on January 18th. And in the essence of time, that's available for questions and may need to rely on the town attorney to help, but staff has provided a recommended motion in your packet there at the end of the memo. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay. I guess if you no questions for Michael, entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of the Walbrook Infrastructure Improvement Agreement and Roadway Reimbursement Agreement with direction to staff to place these documents in final form for execution by the town manager.
I second.
Okay, we got a motion to approve and a second on the floor. Is there any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any. Was there another one you was covering, or was that,
Well, that's it.
that took care of both of them?
Yep.
Both issues? All right, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, board, next item is this evidentiary hearing. We got to consider this a little bit different. Maybe the first one for you, Dan, I think.
Yes, sir.
I'll let the attorney explain the process here, but I guess basically speaking, Dan, you can't make a decision unless it's a legal decision, probably. But go ahead, attorney, correct that if that's wrong.
Mr. Mayor, could you call the case on this one? I
Yes.
don't have the docket number.
Yeah, it's evidentiary case SP 20-04, the Point South Townhomes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Evidentiary hearings have characteristics similar to court proceedings. Evidentiary hearings are necessary when a quasi-judicial decision must be made by the board. The board's decision must be based only upon the evidence presented at this hearing and site visits by the board members, if any. Witnesses must testify under oath or affirmation. The parties may be represented by legal counsel. The parties have the right to cross-examine witnesses. The parties have a right to object to improper testimony or evidence. There is a right to present rebuttal evidence. All evidence provided by witnesses must be competent and material. Unduly repetitious or irrelevant testimony may be barred by the mayor. An attorney or party wishing to cross-examine a witness shall rise and wait to be recognized by the mayor. Normally, witnesses may testify only as to their personal knowledge of facts. With regard to competent evidence, North Carolina law prohibits a person from giving opinions about scientific, technical, or other specialized subjects unless the person by knowledge, skill, experience, training, or education is in fact an expert on the subject. A person wanting to give an opinion as an expert must first state his or her qualifications to be an expert. Unless the witness is an expert on the subject, North Carolina state law specifically prohibits opinions that the use of property in a particular way would affect the value of other properties, or opinions that the increase in vehicular traffic resulting from a proposed development would pose a danger to the public safety. And as we do for each of these, Commissioner Alston, we then ask the board as a group a series of qualifying questions. Okay. A board member shall not participate in this hearing if the member has a fixed opinion prior to the hearing that is not susceptible to change, has engaged in undisclosed ex parte communications, has a close familial, business, or other associational relationship with an applicant or an affected person, or has a financial interest in the outcome of the matter. Question 1, is any member predisposed to vote a particular way on this matter such that his or her opinion is fixed and the evidence presented during this hearing is not likely to influence his or her decision?
No.
No.
Has any member discussed this matter with proponents, opponents, or others?
No.
No.
Does any member have a close familial, business, or other associational relationship with the applicant or an aggrieved party?
No.
Does any member have a financial interest in the outcome of this matter?
No.
While not a conflict of interest, specialized knowledge of members should be disclosed. Does any member have particular knowledge or expertise regarding the site or the subject matter of the hearing?
No.
And has any member made a site visit?
No.
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 Is there any objection by a member of the board or by any party to the participation of any member on the basis of a conflict of interest?
No.
That's all we have.
No. I will declare, just for the record, I did have Mike Reynolds, and I'm not even sure Mike Reynolds is in the room tonight. I don't see him. No. I did have Mike Reynolds on my show a couple months ago, but townhouses in particular was never discussed. And that was a public forum too, so.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, with that, I will ask the clerk if she would minister oaths to the witnesses, and I would say anybody that you think you're going to testify in this hearing, please step up and let's get sworn in.
Mayor, with your permission, can everyone just stand where they are?
Yeah, just stand where you're at.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this public hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, appreciate that. Well, I'll open the hearing, and I'll call for staff report.
Good evening. My name is Mike Ellebarger. I'm the town senior planner. I've been with the town since November 15th, and so this is my first presentation before the board. This application is Site Plan 20-04, the Point South Townhomes. Due to the timing of the application, this application is being reviewed under the Unified Development Ordinance. This property is currently zoned the R and PUD district under the UDO, and this request is for approval by the town board under UDO section 3.6.2 for special use permits and site plans. And an evidentiary quasi-judicial hearing is required, as we are currently having. Some of the background on this overall project, special use permit 1809 was approved in the fall of 2019. The preliminary subdivision plat for the entire the Point neighborhood or subdivision was approved in the fall of 2020. Construction drawings for the infrastructure for the development are currently under review and have been for some time. And the concept of the townhomes in the locations that you'll see shortly were previously approved by the town board through that special use permit and preliminary subdivision plat processes that came before the board. Overall, the site plan information, 319 townhomes are being proposed. That overall density for the townhome areas is 6.9 units per acre. There are 3 separate areas. Area 1 would contain 68 dwelling units of townhomes, Area 2, 136, and Area 3, 115. The town's technical review committee staff reviewed 3 submittals of this site plan and got to the point with no comments remaining, and thus this site plan is being brought forward to you. This is an overall locational map. In red is the overall Point project. It is known best as a north portion and then a southern portion. These townhomes are all located in the southern portion. Here's another excerpt from the plans. We see the 401 bypass right here that generally breaks this property from that north portion to the southern portion, and then areas here, the 3 areas of the townhomes. Townhome area number 1 is in the southwest corner of the overall project. It is proposing 68 townhome dwelling units. Area 2 borders and abuts the 401 bypass, kind of in the north central portion of this southern portion of the Point project. And then the third phase is on the eastern side, abutting Young Street, and is just on the west side of Young Street in the southeastern corner of the overall development.
I don't know, where's that? I mean,
I can go back to the overall map if you'd like.
just that one, where? You're east and west, I get it confused at my
Sure,
numbers.
sure. On this drawing, north is up. Young Street is this boundary on the right-hand side, and so that third area is right here.
It's where those ponds are.
Yes, there are some existing ponds. Yes.
There's a couple ponds out there.
Yes. That number 2 area here, again, very close to abutting the 401 bypass, and then the other area in the southwestern corner of the overall project.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The required findings of fact from the Unified Development Ordinance here are listed for you for your consideration, and also board options for your actions this evening. Approval, if you find the necessary findings of fact have been met, subject approval but with conditions, or denying of the site plan with testimony that the findings of facts were not proven. The applicants are here this evening and are ready to speak or address questions as they like.
I have a question. When was this supposed to start? I thought construction was going to start already. No?
I can let
I
the
know there
applicant's
were
engineer-
still more steps to go, but it seems like it's been 4 years, right? Has it been 4 years?
Yeah, let's wait till we get them officially up and we'll find out. Any questions for the staff before we do that?
3 since approval.
Okay, save
Thank
that
you.
question, Michelle. Okay, well, I see Beth stood up, Beth Trejos, attorney. Is there any other attorneys in the room that's representing anybody? Looks like you're the only one. All right, so I will take any brief open statements you have.
Mr. Mayor,
and board members. Beth Trejos with Nelson Mullins. Here today on behalf of Ashton Woods Homes in regard to the Point development. Again, townhomes only on the south. And as Michael said, we have been here before. This is the prior approval that this board issued in 2019 for this project after significant review. This document, which continues to govern what happens on this area, includes substantial conditions related to open space and transportation improvements, among other things, that were a part of that initial review process. And I will say as well that prior to that process in 2019, this project had been approved right about 2008 with another developer, and we all sort of recall what happened in 2008, particularly us real estate lawyers who suddenly had nothing to do. And so there was some time. But this project may be the project that this board has seen the most. To my knowledge, it has been before you, well, this is the third time, all with the same review factors. And twice you have found that all of the requirements of your ordinance were met. And so we will endeavor here today with our experts to convince you that they are once again met. I would ask that you include in your record the PowerPoint presentation that your staff has put forward, as well as taking judicial notice of the prior approvals and the records associated with those. I know you all have had a long night tonight, and so we will endeavor to be respectful of your time calling forward the experts. But since Commissioner Medley had asked a question, I will, this was approved in 2019, and I know the folks at Ashton Woods have been moving forward with all due haste. This application, in fact, was filed in the fall of 2020. And, you know, the review process and I think some changeover in staff, you know, it just took that 18 months for us to get it to you, despite our best efforts. So I know Ashton Woods has been working hard to move this forward, and we hope y'all will give us that approval to continue to do that here tonight. So if it's appropriate, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to call our first witness, who is...
That'll be fine. We don't have any other attorneys to give an opening statement, so go right ahead.
Thank you. Our first witness is Mike Sanchez, and Mike is a civil engineer with McAdams, and I'll ask him to introduce himself to you.
Hi, I'm Mike Sanchez. I'm with the McAdams Company, 2905 Durham Road, and Meridian Parkway in Durham. And I've been with the McAdams Company for about 20 years, just about. And I am a licensed professional engineer registered in the state of North Carolina. And most of my career has been involved with site design, land development, especially residential land development, site design at McAdams, and some even prior to McAdams.
And Mr. Mayor, I would tender Mr. Sanchez as an expert in civil engineering.
I have been involved with the Point and the Point South, these townhomes that we are talking about here tonight. And the three pods that Michael pointed out and that are shown up on the board now are in conformance with what was previously approved in the master plan. As Michael pointed out, right now we are looking at 319 townhomes. These townhomes, this is the Point in particular, or in general, is in conformance with the 2017 comprehensive plan, which called for mixed-use neighborhoods. The mixed use in the townhomes bring the pods that we're talking about tonight bring townhomes into the mix, intermixed with the single family, which was part of the preliminary subdivision plan that was previously approved. And we have also the infrastructure that will support the townhomes, and particularly water and sewer. We have been obviously in contact with the city of Raleigh to make sure that water is available, which it is, and sewer capacity is available. There are some improvements that will be required, but the plans for those improvements are underway as well. And so the timing would be that those would be approved before these were constructed. And so just in general, this, what we're talking about here, these 3 townhome pods are in conformance with the previously approved plans and with the 2017 comp plan.
And Mr. Sanchez, do they meet all the requirements of the ordinance with this proposal?
They do meet all the requirements of the ordinance with this proposal.
Thank you. Any other witnesses you have?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to call on Travis Fluid. Travis is a traffic engineer with Kimley Horn, and I'll ask him to introduce himself to the board.
Good evening, Travis Fluid with Kimley Horn and Associates, 421 Fayetteville Street in Raleigh. I'm a professional engineer in the state of North Carolina. I have a master's degree in transportation engineering from the University of Texas at Austin, and I have been performing traffic impact analyses in the state of North Carolina for 18 years.
And Mr. Mayor, I would tender Mr. Fluid as an expert in transportation planning and traffic engineering.
Excuse me 1 minute. Can you hear her, or does she need to step up to the mic?
I can hear her.
You can hear?
I'm
You're
trying to
good.
be loud.
All right. Yeah, you could pull your mask down if you want to be a little bit louder, but just make sure we get you in the record, you know.
Sure.
Yes. We performed a very small traffic impact analysis for this site as part of the PUD process back in 2019 for the entire development, including the townhome portion under review this evening. There were numerous improvements recommended as part of that. Those are all being performed. Turn lane improvements at the side driveways along Young Street are currently in review by the state of North Carolina and the town of Rolesville. All the improvements in the TIA were reviewed and approved by town staff and NCDOT staff. And I'm not sure the language that I need to say specifically, but
So I'll ask you, is it your professional opinion that the townhomes are appropriately located with respect to transportation facilities?
it is my opinion that they are appropriately located with respect to transportation facilities.
And is it your professional opinion that the townhomes will not cause undue traffic congestion or create a traffic hazard?
Yes, it is my opinion that the traffic from this site will not create an undue traffic hazard.
Could you give any information about the Strips Drive and Rolesville Road intersection? Any improvements that are at that intersection?
Strips Drive?
Yeah, it's on the Phase 10 townhome section right across from Rolesville High School.
One moment. What are you looking for the volume of traffic that'll be using?
Like what's going to be improved there or anything else that's required at that intersection?
Is Strip Drive's the site access driveway?
Yes.
Okay. They didn't have names back when we did our study. So there will be, I believe, left and right turn lanes at that side driveway. So left turn lane, let me confirm this. There will be a northbound left turn lane on Young Street, and then one egress lane exiting the side driveway.
I'm sorry, where's North Street at on Young Street? You
There-
said going north on Young Street?
Yes.
Isn't Young Street east and west?
For purposes of my study, we called it north-south because that's the cardinal direction, but turning off of Young Street into the site, there will be a left turn lane. Left turn lane on Young Street, turning into the site access road.
Coming up Rolesville Road, you can turn into a lane and turn into
Can we use the pointer just for clarity, for us and for the public?
Sure.
That'd be great. Thank you.
So, do I advance to go to the one that was just that?
Go backwards.
Go backwards?
Yeah, back several.
Okay, this one here. So, Young Street, the site access road, there will be a left turn lane here on Young Street turning into the site onto Strips Drive.
And that's across from the high school?
Yes.
Okay. Why do you guys change it, though? Because that's so confusing.
Change what?
You know, Like when you go west and east and north and south? Can that be
What is the
changed?
true definition? Is it really west? Is it really north?
For reasons that are beyond my expertise, Young Street is referred to as east and west, yet runs north and south. It's a mystery of Rolesville's history.
So west
North
is
Main
actually
is
north and
north.
east is actually south? No?
Correct.
Is that it? Oh my God, I can't believe I got
Not
that.
a straight up, because it's not perpendicular.
All right, so let me write that down. West is, so I'll know moving forward.
I
I won't
get
have to.
confused.
And to the extent it matters in the future, the same problem afflicts Main Street.
Oh, that's true.
Jeez, yeah. Okay, all right, thank you.
There are no questions for Mr. Fluid. I'll call Mr. Rich Kirkland. Mr. Kirkland is an MAI certified real estate appraiser, and I'll ask him to introduce himself.
Good evening. Again, my name's Rich Kirkland with Kirkland Appraisals. I've been appraising the Triangle area for about 26 years. I'm state certified general appraiser with an MAI designation through the Appraisal Institute. I was asked to look at whether or not this project or this proposal would have impacts on adjoining property values. I was also asked to consider whether it was consistent with a future land use plan. I've looked at a number of different projects like this, mostly in Wake Forest and North Raleigh, looking at similar proximity of townhomes and single-family uses in general, finding them very consistent. We've looked at sales that show no impact on property values. And furthermore, just looking at the specifics around this site, the adjoining uses, the primary adjoining uses are actually the other phases of the point itself. There's a small isolated remainder from the DOT that has really no effective use. It's a sort of isolated remainder that's landlocked. There's the high school. There's a bunch of effectively vacant land to the south that the future land use plan calls for a business park. And then there's one house that is sort of diagonally cat-a-corner from that townhome area 3 that backs up to the high school. It's well screened, and it's also directly across the street from similarly land that has mixed-use, medium-density residential in the future land use plan. So again, it's my professional opinion that this project as proposed is consistent with the land use plan, and it's also going to have no impact on adjoining property value.
And Mr. Mayor, Rich moved too quickly for me.
Sorry.
And I failed to tender him as an expert, an expert appraiser. And he has also prepared a report, and I'm not sure if I can hand
Give
that
it to Robin. Just set it on the table there.
There's copies of the report for the record.
I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
What's the total appraisal value of the whole neighborhood?
I was not asked to look at that.
No idea, huh?
No, sir, not an idea. I'd have to create a file and do some research.
I know I have some questions for you, but they're just not coming to mind at this moment, so can we come back to him? Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
You have more witnesses?
We do not have additional expert testimony. That is our prima facie case, but we do have Representatives Raymond Rinker and Bob Mishler from Ashton Woods Homes who are here to answer questions. As a group, we are available to answer questions. And after the comments from the public, I'd like to give a summary, a closing argument, if you would allow me that.
Certainly.
Otherwise, we were available for questions.
While the attorney is up there, is any questions from the board to her or her witnesses?
I have a question. Was there included in our, I don't see it if it was, showing what the townhomes look like? Did I miss that?
And I'll move this forward so we have this broader plan. I think as a part of the prior PUD approval, we had some pictures of what the units generally would look like, some concepts, and we have some here as well, and I'm happy to hand those out to you if that's appropriate. I don't know if you want me to hand them out or give them to Robin.
I would like to see it. I just want my memory refreshed.
Not supposed to be.
I'm just trying to refresh my memory.
I have a question about your traffic study. I know it was done in 2019. And I understand why. But Are there any updates to that, being that we have so much more development that has taken place since you all came forward?
So one thing I would point out is there are some commitments with regard to updating the traffic impact analysis in the issued special use permit, but those are only as it relates to the property to the north. And so I'll let Mr. Fluid talk to you.
And to the north is Cedar Lakes, right? Like that side, that's north?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you're correct.
Yes. Or west, whichever you prefer.
Roseville.
No, the typical traffic study process, we set the build-out date year as 2025, so we are still within the build-out window, so the TIA is still considered valid. We included 3 other developments along Young Street. Those were Callis Falls, one moment, Rogers Farm, and the Watkins family property. We also included background growth on top of that to account for other developments. And the way these traffic studies work is they compound on each other. So other developments coming in after this one have to take this development's traffic into account and include it as part of their mitigations if they increase traffic beyond what we had in this study. So the short answer is no, we have not done any updates, but our typical process would not to be an update for do an update for something like this, since we're still within the parameters of the original study.
Do you have on there the date of the original? Was it 2019?
It was dated June 13th, 2019.
2019, okay, thank you.
And
Other questions from the board?
Just clarity on these. Are these options or these ideas? Like, is this one idea and this one idea? Or these are both ideas that could be?
Yeah, so there'll be different styles of townhomes. And so those are styles that we anticipate.
Gotcha. Do you have a pricing on it or average for the townhomes and size?
I'm going to ask Mr. Rinker to come forward on that. There are some commitments in the existing special use permit with regard to size, and so we would, of course, adhere to those. And I'll ask Mr. Rinker to talk with you about anticipated prices. Obviously, with the market, it's hard to know for sure.
Of course.
And what is his role again?
My name is Raymond Rinker. I'm the Vice President of Land Development for Ashton Woods Homes. I'm also a licensed general contractor in the state of North Carolina, and also a
I'm
licensed
sorry, you're
real
what?
estate
You're the
broker.
land development, say it again?
I'm the Vice President of Land Development for Ashton
Okay,
Woods.
thank you.
I'm also a licensed general contractor and a licensed real estate broker in the state of North Carolina. These townhomes we are proposing, there's different pods, so there will be some different products, different price variation. That was part of our intent, was try to hit different price points. So if these market price townhomes went to market today, we would expect them to be in the high 260s up into the mid to high 370s. So they're depending on where they're located in the neighborhood.
And remind me of the sizes again?
These are a
range.
minimum of 1,400 square feet. They're all the width will all be 22 feet within the community. And so there'll be different styles, elevations, and options offered.
And go up to what size for the townhomes? What do you anticipate?
Currently, I would think in 1,400 to 1,600 area, like 1,450, I think would be the smallest.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
2-story, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Would have been nice if we could have got some affordable townhomes in Roseville. But that's not their concern.
Yeah. Other questions? No other questions?
So everything's going to be front-loaded in this development?
Raymond, everything will be front-loaded?
No realities, I think is what she asked.
No, all the townhomes within the community will be front-loaded. Yes.
And I believe that is, an element of that is addressed in the prior special use permit.
Okay. Just briefly stand aside and let me just ask call for any evidence for any parties in opposition and their witnesses. So anybody in opposition would like to enter any evidence at this time? Okay. Not hearing any, then I will take closing arguments from any attorney, which is you, Beth.
Mr. Mayor and board members, I will just briefly go through the required findings and the evidence that you have heard tonight. The first finding is that the proposed development or use will not materially endanger the public health or safety. And you heard that from Civil Engineer Mike Sanchez. Traffic Engineer Travis Fluitt testified that there would be no traffic issues. And according to your staff report, the TRC staff recommends approval, and this board previously made this finding in 2019 and in 2009. I would also point out there was no contrary evidence. The second finding is that the proposed development would not substantially injure the value of adjoining properties. You heard testimony from real estate appraiser Rich Kirkland as to that point, and the board previously made that finding in 2019 and 2009. The third finding is that the proposed development or use would be in harmony with the scale, bulk, coverage, density, and character of the neighborhood in which it's located. Again, you heard about that point from appraiser Rich Kirkland, and this board made that finding in 2009 and 2019. The fourth finding is the proposed development will generally conform with the comprehensive plan. You heard that both from Rich Kirkland and from Mike Sanchez. And the board previously found that in 2019 and 2009. The fifth finding is that the use is appropriately located with respect to transportation facilities, water and sewer supply, fire and police protection, and similar facilities. Again, you heard from Civil Engineer Mike Sanchez, Traffic Engineer Travis Fluitt. The staff report indicates the TRC, which includes representatives from the fire department, recommends approval, and you previously made this finding. The sixth finding is that the proposed development will not cause undue traffic congestion or create a traffic hazard. You heard that testimony from Traffic Engineer Travis Fluitt. The TRC staff recommends approval, and you made this same finding for this same use in 2009 and 2019. And the final finding is that the proposed use will comply with all applicable requirements of the ordinance. You heard that from Civil Engineer Mike Sanchez. It's set out in your staff report, and you previously made that finding in 2019 and 2009. With that, we would respectfully ask for your support for the proposal here tonight. And again, the whole team is available if you have questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll ask for any comments from staff before I close. Michael, anything else?
There are no further things that I can introduce.
Okay. One last appeal to the board before I close the hearing. Is it any questions you'd like to ask the applicants or the staff before I close the public hearing? Any questions?
I do have a question. You said TRC you had come back 3 times. What were the issues that they had?
I do not know at the moment. TRC is made up of a variety of staff. Wake County Fire, Wake County Environmental, who does stormwater review, the City of Raleigh Public Utilities, planning and zoning staff, often in-house staff, sometimes a contractor, the town's engineer, which is a subcontractor. I believe there's 1 or 2 more. Parks and Recreation. So
No, I'm sorry, I'm not asking who was on the team.
I understand.
Oh.
Yes, I do not know the breadth of the comments. I will say that as the applicant stated, this application was made in 2020, and lots of staff turnover. I myself was not part of the actual staff reviews. I can certainly pull those records and provide them to the board if that is desired.
I'm just curious, Beth, do you know it? Can she answer that?
The applicant may have a better memory of the exact sticking points.
Yeah, what were their concerns?
Oh, did they have concerns?
Yeah, they did. It went back to the TRC 3 times, you said, right?
There were 3 submittals, which
Right.
meant there were staff comments on the first review, the second review.
Right. So I'm curious as to know what they were. I guess, obviously, they were resolved, but I'm just curious to know.
I would say I was not directly involved in the TRC review, but I have been involved in many TRC reviews, and I would say that, often, there are comments about, gosh, you didn't consider this standard, or, we need to see a tweak here. So I'm not sure that there was any overarching issue, but I would just say it's not uncommon to have multiple reviews, particularly with the length of time this project was under consideration by the town. So I'm sorry, I didn't participate, so I don't know the specific concerns.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll close this hearing, and I'll turn it over to the board for deliberation or a motion, either one.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the site plan based on the evidence and testimony presented at the public hearing.
Okay, I got a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, I think, Madam Secretary. Thank you, appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's get back to the agenda. We got one item left, a public hearing on Resolution 022-R-04, which establish a variable percentage goal for participation in historical unutilized businesses in building projects. And I think those are governmental projects. And I think that's the one Commissioner Sutton was asking earlier about the percentage. And I thought I saw that somewhere. So maybe Amy kind of bring us up to speed. I know we had this in the workshop.
Yeah, I jotted down page 276 in your agenda packet, if you're open on that. Yeah, so good evening, Mayor, Town Commissioners. Before you again, we did cover this topic back in your work session last month. We're here tonight to continue with the public hearing associated with this, and also my opportunity to give you an update on some questions. Just to review, as we talked about many times, much of what we do in the Finance Department is governed by general statute, and procurement is no exception to that. So North Carolina general statutes require that when a unit of government has a building construction project of $300,000 or more, that the unit establish a verifiable percentage, I'll get this right, a verifiable participation percentage for historically underutilized businesses. For shorthand, we often call that HUB, for historically underutilized business. Now, the town has two upcoming building construction projects, the Public Works Facility, Cobblestone Community Center. We anticipate working on those and beginning construction on those probably within at least the next 12 months, if not sooner. So it's appropriate for us to consider establishing that goal. The town, to my knowledge, has not had a building construction project of this size to require this goal in the past, so this is a new policy for the town. The proposed resolution before you establishes a goal so that it's a generic goal rather than doing it for each project now and each project in the future. This would establish a goal for all construction projects. Now, the intent of this state statute is to rectify any discrepancies between the availability of HUB vendors in your local community and the participation rate of those HUB vendors in building construction projects. Again, that's the intent of the statute and what it tries to achieve. So along with that, these goals are aspirational. So they're not they're not quotas, they're not set-asides, they're not requirements. They are an aspirational goal for those contractors. Now, we had a question at our last session to do a little bit more research and find out what other units are using. And again, I refer back to what the intent of the statute is, and that's because it's looking at what your availability is in the local community versus what's being used. So for my examples, at least what's in the memo here, I did try to concentrate on what local units of government are doing. So you can see from here, pulled up several in the Wake County area. Virtually all had 10%. Raleigh did identify 15. I've gotten a few more since I published this. Cary's at 10% as well. And the Wake County Public School System, obviously they have very large projects. Theirs actually depended a little bit based on what method of contracting they use, but generally they tried for 10% for just smaller general projects. Obviously, this is an aspirational goal, so it is at the discretion of the board for where they want to set that. But again, keeping in mind the intent of the statute is to rectify discrepancies. Now, some communities do go out and do studies of what availability there is within the community in order to justify their chosen percentage, but typically that's your larger communities that really want to invest in the program. So, and federal requirements, I believe, was another question that was asked. And I was not able to identify a specific percentage. Now, US DOT does have some programs, but in general, for the federal government, they actually just prescribe certain activities about advertising the bids, making sure you break it down into smaller contracts that make it better able for small vendors to participate, that sort of thing. But they don't generally prescribe a percentage participation goal.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I did word the motion that if you all want to amend the staff's recommendation, the proposed language is there for you. But again, general statutes do require a public hearing for this, so that public hearing has been advertised for this evening.
So thank you for that, Amy. I appreciate you getting that additional information. And I do recommend a higher goal. I think of goal as effort. And I know it's not monitored in the sense of how much effort did you put in. But when I think about Rolesville and I think about our percentage of diversity in our town, I think all towns should align with what their towns look like in their effort, because that represents your community. So say we're 17%. I don't know the numbers. The last time I looked at it, I think it was 17%, but that might have been a few years ago, of minorities. So I think some of these 10% goals are really outdated. And I would love to know, not for tonight's purposes, but just in general, when was the last time they looked at those goals? That participation goal, I want Rolesville to be unique in the sense of, let's put some extra effort behind doing this. We do have some large projects coming up and we have some opportunity. So I don't think 15% is a stretch. Probably some of these others need to pull up and be higher, especially based on the diversity of their communities. So I would recommend 15% as our goal instead of 10, so we push a little higher. Aspire higher. I thought of that a few minutes ago. Anyway, aspire higher, so I would recommend a goal of 15%. And unless there's questions, I'll be happy to make a motion for that.
First, let's have a public hearing.
Oh, sorry.
So, any questions for Amy? I don't think, unless Derek's going to say something, I don't know if there's any public here that's going to say anything, but, well, let's go ahead and do it. So open up the public hearing.
Clarification item, we can set any percentage we like as to our local contracts, except if they will involve state funding or a state grant, in which case, as to that particular contract, it would be fixed at 10%.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Right. All right, public hearing is open. Anybody in the public in favor would like to speak?
Or Derek.
Anybody in the public
He said, go for it.
Anybody in the public in opposition would like to speak? If not, I'm closing the public hearing. I think what I heard, Commissioner Sutton is tending to make a motion, maybe stretch goal of 15%. Before she do that, anybody want to discuss anything you feel really uncomfortable? Staff, I feel like the staff hasn't made any oppositions to being over 10. I think you said it's up to the commissioners, so I guess I'm not looking at any opposition from the staff that this is going to cause a problem. David said that some of the state stuff is fixed anyway, so.
So the one thing I do want to say, I agree with the 15% at least. But I also want to, without getting into specifics, warn us about getting comfortable with just because we find somebody that meets this requirement, we don't go out the next time and find somebody else that meets this requirement as well. Like, we need to broaden out. Don't just find that one historically underutilized business and keep using them over and over again. We need to expand out on that too, so.
Good point.
Yep.
It should be added that the 10% goal would still fall under our normal public bidding requirement. So under this policy, it's not permissible to grant a contract to a hub company. That's redundant. I guess it would just be a hub, a historically underused business, because of that status. We're not even allowed to use it as a tiebreaker. So it's about using better strategies to encourage more applications or better applications from those companies so that they, 100% of shots not taken don't go in. So if those come in, we may find that regardless of the percentage we pick, the strategy will be the same.
I guess I have a question then. Are there any plans? Do you have any ideas on how this could happen? How do we attain that 15? Like, what would be the goals? What are the strategies?
Well, I think some of those you've actually adopted with your supplier diversity resolution that you adopted earlier tonight. And that is, and just like the federal regulations, it's about getting the word out to the appropriate forums so that it's seen by those businesses. And that's really the big hurdle right there, as well as, again, breaking the project. If you have a very large project, you break it down into smaller so that the general contractor can hire subs who specialize, and you give greater opportunity to smaller businesses.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying, do you have any strategies in place on how to get there? Am I asking a question that you just don't get it? Like, what is the plan to make that happen?
We discussed at the last session, didn't we, Amy, about strategies, how you're going to put these in a...
Right, in the local sense? Right, yes. And again, that goes back to that resolution. In fact, I was going to tell you in my departmental update, but I can tell you now. We just put out the East Young Street Sidewalk project for bid. We put it on the town's website. We're putting it on the state IPS website, and we're using the state's hub website. Again, that's over and above, what's required by statute, which is just an ad in a local newspaper. Well, an ad in a local newspaper isn't going to reach as many of the clientele or potential vendors as some of these websites that really cater to specific vendors. So that's one example. Another thing that we're doing is...
Over all these years, that was never done here.
That's right. Yeah. Putting it on our website when we did the refresh, 3 years ago, when we did that, that was a big step up for us to be able to put bid opportunities on our website.
But we really haven't built any buildings either, though. To be honest.
Even with applications for different departmental jobs, that was only...
Well, that's different. I think we're talking about here.
No, it is what I'm saying, but I'm just surprised that we haven't, I get it, but we've had work that was needed to be completed here. And I guess, like you say, you just went to a site, put it out there and see what you get. But at least now it's being expanded, so I was just... And I know we talked about it last week, but I didn't know if any more not last week, but a couple of weeks ago. I just didn't know if any more ideas came to mind on how to get this done.
Well, and it's a trade-off too. There are communities that have very robust MWBE or hub programs. They're typically larger communities that have more resources. They dedicate a staff person to do just that. They typically have a purchasing department or, it's sort of an evolution. It's a growing process. As we grow, we'll become more robust and more sophisticated in what our activities are and what we're able to do.
But this also gives the staff leeway to do that, too, when we approve this. And I think about Michael McFarland's role as Community and Economic Development Manager, partnering with some of the things that are local in Wake County, too, that could help increase that. Because when I worked in HR, a lot of our effort was around, for the federal government's reporting, was our activities. What are we doing? There was not a specific goal when I worked for a large utility, but there was activities. What are you doing to show that outreach effort? What are you doing to make an effort? So I could see a lot of that, especially with Michael's role and others, but I think it will help that in getting that pool bigger, so there may be more opportunity for people to participate. And this is what that sets it for. And keeping in mind that Rolesville has been small we're still small, but we've been really small for a long time, and we're just starting to kind of get up to that level where we're getting things.
And I think it'll help you out too, because the bigger projects, like I quote those every day, and it's like, you break them down per trades, you have steel, concrete, this and that. So you'll have every one of those you could branch out into. So it
Exactly.
should help out with the bigger project.
Definitely.
Okay. I think you wanted to make a motion, so I'll
Oh, yes, sir.
entertain that now.
Sure. I lost the spot on it, but I'll find it again. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the resolution to establish a verifiable percentage goal for participation by historically underutilized businesses with the goal of 15%.
I second.
I think Michelle was first. So we got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, board. Appreciate that. And that gets us through the public hearings. Here is 10:15, a little bit behind schedule. I did go ahead, knowing that we was looking to be behind schedule. The staff, most of the staff has left, so we'll get reports next meeting from them. Real quick, does attorney have a report?
No, sir.
Okay, no report from the attorney. There is some staff here. Is any urgent reports you guys want to give? I won't require you.
I would ask too that the next time we have something this big, that we let them go first, period, so we can at least hear it and not pile on to the next meeting. You know what I mean, instead of waiting to the end.
Yeah, we can consider that. It
talked about that.
just put everybody late though, so. But we can, that's a good idea. We'll consider that. Town manager?
Earlier this evening, I gave you a white notebook
But he would still
for
go
the
last,
retreat.
so.
And agenda item number 12, other topics, staff monthly reports and how we're going to do that. So
nice.
we will talk about it Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
Very good.
Because I just feel bad sometimes, because remember that used to happen before.
Yeah, and we'll talk, I got some ideas too, so we'll talk about that.
But just a reminder, bring those with you, and if you want to study in advance, that's great.
You want to study in advance?
A little bit.
Yeah, that's comedy.
Any other
That's
town
it.
manager?
No, that's it. Thank you.
How about town board real quick? Anything from town board? We do have a closed session, and I think, I don't think it's something we have to consider tonight.
2 weeks.
So unless there's a board member objects, I'm gonna just say we table that closed session. And I think we can take up closed session work sessions, right?
You can take it up at any time.
All right, so if it'd be okay, we'll take up this at work session.
That was great.
Only report I have is, mayor show coming up next Thursday. A couple guests on there. One is Billy Singleton. I don't know if y'all know Billy or not, but he's a young man here in Rolesville. He was part of one of the graduates from Launch Rolesville, so I kind of want to talk to him a little bit about that. If y'all are not familiar with Launch Rolesville, it'd be good to hear his perspective on what he learned and how that go. But he's also, I guess you would call, financial independent, and he teaches that. So he has a business, that was his business doing Launch Rolesville, is to, I think mostly focus on debt-free type things. So should be a good discussion.
That's my best friend.
And looking forward to talking to him about that. Other person is Hal Perry. Some of y'all know Hal. He was more active in here 20 years ago. He's been one of our legacy builders. Hal is wrapping up. I think it's a couple of things that's still left that is in, the planning queue. And once he does that, he's retiring. And I think basically we're going to probably talk 20 years and 20 minutes of what what has happened in the last 20 years in development and his perspective here in Rolesville, which, if y'all know, he's one that had the swim club, Granite Falls Boulevard, and a lot of those businesses coming in. So it should be two good guests, one more historical, one more future thinking about, how should you position yourself to be successful, I guess is a good word for it. So with that, I'll adjourn unless there's any opposition, closing comments. Not hearing any. Great meeting. Appreciate the board's participation. We got through this pretty efficiently, and I think you guys made good decisions, good decisive decisions, and appreciate you guys doing that. Thank you. And we'll adjourn.
Okay, so what time is the meeting on Friday again?